the full-time mage. The extreme lightning. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1. Tang Mao. Hangzhou, in a village outside Anji. My young master finally completed the first level of thunder magic. Hahaha, this thunder is really extraordinary. Big snake, look at how strong my thunder is. In a lake, a young man about 16 years old, who thought he was extremely handsome, sat on a huge snake. The thunder on his hand appeared from time to time, as if he was showing off its power. The big snake the young man was sitting on just hissed and spit out its tongue perfunctorily. Facing the perfunctory of this huge snake, Tang Mao said somewhat dissatisfiedly, "Big snake, you look down on my thunder. You should know that this is thunder with its own domain." However, the totem black snake still did not react much. After all, the gap is too big. This thunder, in front of it, has almost no power. Even if it hits it, it is just the feeling of a fly hitting it, right? Not even as good as a mosquito. Okay, you are the monarch. You are awesome. Okay. Tang Mao saw that he did not get any praise and waved his hand helplessly. It's been 16 years. I think the guy who brings disaster with him should have come, right? Tang Mao lay on the snake and muttered to himself. He was not originally from this world. He came here 16 years ago. Oh, or in the previous life. As a man who likes outdoor travel, he went to Kunlun Mountain, which is known as the Fairyland, in his previous life. As a result, it was this trip that he set foot on the other world. That is, he came to the world of full-time magicians. Although he likes outdoor travel, he is not indifferent to everything. When he is bored, he will read some novels to pass the time. I have always found it funny to travel through time. However, I didn't expect that a strange stone he picked up by accident would directly bring him to this world. Hiss. The black snake was puzzled by what Tang Mao said. It seemed to be asking, what did Tang Mao mumble? Hearing the black snake's question, Tang Mao smiled, then shook his head and said, "You don't understand." Hiss. The big snake expressed its dissatisfaction with Tang Mao's half sentence every time. However, its pressure, even if others do nothing, can make them panic. However, Tang Mao simply ignored it. However, the big snake was not surprised by this, because Tang Mao has an aura that makes him respect. Although it is only a tiny wisp, the black snake can be sure that it is the presence of its ancestor. Just as the man and the snake were talking across races, a mature and bright voice came over. "Tang Mao, why did you let the big guy show up again? Didn't I tell you to let it sleep quietly in the seal?" Although the voice was very pleasant to the ears, the anger mixed in it still made Tang Mao hear it clearly. Looking back, Tang Mao responded, "Why are you making such a fuss? It is a guardian god, not a monster. Why can't it show up? Besides, if it wasn't for it accompanying me during your absence these years, I would have become autistic." The person who came was naturally Tang Yu. Since the adoptive parents of this world offered sacrifices to the heaven 10 years ago, Tang Yu has been his closest companion. Although the two are not of the same age, they can be considered childhood sweethearts. There is no other reason both of them can command the black snake. However, after Tang Yu's magic awakened and joined the Inquisition, it was this black snake that accompanied Tang Mao. Hearing what Tang Mao said, Tang Yu walked over and immediately jumped on the head of the black snake. Tang Mao naturally reached out and pulled her over par. After Tang Yu stood firm, she felt that she was it. That would be fine. But this little bastard still thinks that he is as ignorant as he was when he was a child. Without saying a word, he slapped Tang Mao's dog head away. After slapping Tang Mao away, Tang Yu pouted and said angrily, "If you do this again, I will ignore you in the future." Tang Mao didn't mind at all. He pulled Tang Yu to sit down and whispered, "I miss you." Hiss. The big snake stared at Tang Mao with his eyes, and the feeling of contempt was not concealed at all. Despised. Tang Mao glared and said, "Why are you joining in the fun? Believe it or not, I will cut off your snake food in the future." Hiss. The black snake felt a little wronged. After all, it is the father among the monarchs. But, a person who has just awakened magic. Oh no. A scum with a combat power of 5. Where does he get the courage to yell at him every day? Tang Yu was accustomed to the interaction between Tang Mao and the black snake. She just laughed, but did not participate. As for being taken advantage of, it seems that she did not care too much. After all, this is not the first or second time. Seeing Tang Yu's charming smile, Tang Mao's heartbeat accelerated. Looking at Tang Mao, who had no future at all, Tang Yu covered her face and said angrily, "Can't you be a little cleaner in your mind? It's not because you are too charming." Tang Mao pouted and muttered, "Can he be blamed for this? The young lady's current plump figure is simply a young killer." Tang Yu glared at him and said fiercely, "What did you say?" Looking at the trembling, Tang Mao felt that he subconsciously covered his nose. Fortunately, there was no bleeding. Then he reached out to support Tang Yu and said seriously, "Sister Yu, are you coming back this time to complete the important things we didn't complete back then?" Tang Yu stretched out her jade hand and directly blocked Tang Mao's face. It seemed that she thought of the day when she awakened her magic and Tang Mao was going to guide her. She said with shame and anger, "Little bastard, you still dare to say that? Believe it or not, I will break your legs." Tang Mao smiled, but he couldn't eat tofu anymore, and Tang Yu looked like she would beat you if you were naughty. He had to retract his head and sit there quietly. "You are my child bride, raised since childhood. How can you be so ruthless now?" Tang Yu looked at Tang Mao with a black line. Was she blind when she was a child? She actually regarded the person in front of her as her Prince Charming and raised him since childhood? If it weren't for her, Tang Mao would have starved to death on the street if he had been idle all these years. "If you are so shameless, your pocket money will be halved next month." Hearing this, Tang Mao hurriedly sat down and said pitifully, Don't. Look at how thin Zuansh and I are. If you do this, we will starve to death." Tang Yu was completely helpless about this rogue. In the end, she could only hum lightly to express her dissatisfaction. However, after being dissatisfied, Tang Yu still leaned on Tang Mao's shoulder. She talked about the recent things since she awakened her magic. Until now, as long as she had time, she liked to share what happened every day with Tang Mao. At this time, whether it was Zuansh sitting down or Tang Mao, they were listening quietly, and Tang Mao didn't look like he was taking advantage of her. Of course, it was mainly because of the threat of Tang Yu's white jade hand that made him have to be honest. Chapter 2 Powerful Elementary Lightning Magic. Tang Yu had been gone for nearly half a year, so the story was naturally not short. It was already dusk after just a brief narration. Gurgle gurgle. It was not until Tang Mao's stomach couldn't stand it anymore that the two got up and jumped off the black snake's head. Tang Yu was better off. After all, she was now mid-level mage. After the two left the center of the lake, they headed towards their village. The black snake also shrunk its body and coiled on Tang Mao's shoulder. After seeing this, Tang Yu said helplessly, "Do you carry it with you every day?" "Yes. It's my loyal little fan now." Tang Mao glanced at the mini black snake on his shoulder, then looked at Tang Yu again, his eyes almost turning into a shape. Tang Yu stretched out her hand and pinched Tang Mao's ear in a bad mood and said angrily, "Didn't I tell you that everyone can't leave here? It hurts. It hurts." Tang Mao was full of tears. After all, she was teased by her daughter-in-law, and now she is almost her elder. Looking at Tang Mao's ghost-like howling appearance, Tang Yu said helplessly, "Please, I haven't used any strength yet, okay?" Tang Mao escaped from the jade hand in a flash and said with a smile, "Oh, I'll practice first." Looking at Tang Mao's slutty appearance, Tang Yu was a little shy, and he stretched out his hand to hug. Tang Yu wanted to avoid it immediately, but Tang Mao's arms. Unexpectedly, he couldn't push it away. Looking at Tang Mao, who was approaching with pouting lips, Tang Yu habitually stretched out her hand to block it and asked in surprise, "When did you become so strong?" Although she is a woman, she is also a mid-level magician. Although it cannot be said that the physical constitution of a magician is very strong, it is not so strong that he can't break free when being hugged by an ordinary person. Thinking that it was hopeless, Tang Mao could only say, "Oh, I was just listening to your story. You didn't know yet, did you? Now I'm also a magician." Hearing this, Tang Yu was a little surprised and said, "You awakened." But soon, she felt something was wrong. Although almost all the people in this village are magicians, if someone awakens, her uncle, Tang Zhang, will know immediately. Others may not be noticed by Tang Zhang, but Tang Mao, who was chosen by the Black Snake, can't be ignored. Question mark? Then Tang Yu hurriedly said, when did it happen? How come I didn't know? Seeing her puzzled look, Tang Mao let go of her hand. Then he responded, isn't it because your phone couldn't get through, and I didn't have time to tell you? Then, Tang Mao began to connect the stars, 1, 3, and the 7th star was arranged with the other 6 stars. In an instant, a stunning and charming star track appeared in the gorgeous and beautiful stardust. This star track showed the purple star energy of thunder. With the first star as the medium, it was like a meteor dragging a long purple and gorgeous tail, flying along the other 6 stars. The star track was completed. Magic appeared. Purple sky. Thunder seal. Python mark. As Tang Mao cast a set of magic, it was completed, and then it bombarded the ground in the distance. Boom boom. Purple thunder, which was deeper than ordinary thunder magic, fell straight down from the sky. Then a semicircular pit of 5 or 6 meters appeared on the ground. Looking at the ground split by thunder, Tang Yu opened her mouth wide and couldn't believe it for a while. Is this true? This Tang Yu didn't know what to say. Then she looked around and made sure that there was no one. She came to Tang Mao and pulled him into the woods. Suddenly, Tang Yu pulled him towards the grove, and Tang Mao felt a little weird. After all, this was something he always liked to do. After the two entered the forest, Tang Yu was alert again, and after making sure there were no outsiders, then he looked at Tang Mao with a serious face and said, Tang Mao, tell me the truth, what's going on? Have you ever come into contact with any strange people? Originally, Tang Mao wanted to tell Tang Yu that there were mosquitoes here. Although hunting in the wild was exciting, it was extremely uncomfortable to be stung by a mosquito. However, after hearing Tang Yu's question and seeing her being so serious, Tang Mao understood that this woman was afraid that she would be infected with the Black Church, right? Although he knew that Tang Yu was worried about him, the harm of the Black Church, not to mention that Tang Zhang had muttered no less than 10 times, he himself had read novels. What are you thinking about? The Black Snake is with me all day long. You can ask it. Have I ever come into contact with others? The Black Snake seemed to know that Tang Yu had wronged the little boss. Hiss, the snake spit out its tongue to explain to Tang Mao. Tang Yu saw the Black Snake explaining to her and saw Tang Mao's unhappy expression of distrust. After a sigh of relief, she said in a soft voice, I'm not afraid that you are young and ignorant. I don't distrust you. What's more, Tang Mao, who was originally very unhappy, disappeared instantly after feeling this touch. Can't you change your way? You always use the same trick. Tang Yu blinked her charming eyes and smiled. It doesn't matter if there are many ways, as long as they work, isn't it? Knowing Tang Mao's temper, it comes and goes quickly for her. However, her suspicion was indeed a bit excessive, so Tang Yu explained, I'm just worried that you will be deceived by the Black Church, so I'm so nervous. Not that I don't believe you. Tang Mao waved his hand and then said, I'm not stupid, your husband. How could I be fooled by those shady things? In response to Tang Mao's self-proclaimed claim, Tang Yu loosened her jade hand, took a step back, and spat lightly. What husband? Shameless. The softness left, and the fragrance faded away. Tang Mao said dissatisfiedly, hey, you promised to marry me, that's not a day or two. Tang Yu gave Tang Mao a coquettish roll of the eyes, and then said lightly, then you said that I would be as carefree as a princess. Why do you act like a prince now? Tang Mao licked his lips, and then said, that was in the past, brother will protect you from now on. How about we go get the certificate first? Tang Yu's cheeks flushed, she spat at Tang Mao's fragrance, raised her head, and walked ahead alone with a bit of arrogance, without paying any attention to Tang Mao. Going to get the certificate at this time. How will others look at her? You know, Tang Mao is only 16 years old now. Looking at the swaying, Tang Mao muttered in her heart, I don't know when I can hit a home run. Then she followed happily. But after walking a few steps, Tang Yu suddenly stopped again. At this time, Tang Mao seemed to have seen nothing and walked straight past. Chapter 3 I don't want to join any forces. being bumped into suddenly, and then being hugged and held back suddenly. If Tang Yu didn't understand that Tang Mao was deliberately taking advantage of her, then she would be really stupid. Turning back and glaring at Tang Mao smiled and let go of her hand. Then she said, "What's wrong? You haven't told me about magic yet?" Although magic can be awakened at the age of 16, it requires awakening stones. There is no shortage of these in their village, but no one has awakened Tang Mao. He can now release magic, which makes Tang Yu shocked. Half a year ago, I awakened myself. He has nothing to hide from Tang Yu. After all, apart from the black snake on his shoulder, the only person he can trust in this world is Tang Yu. Of course, in fact, the world has not changed at all. It's just that learning has become magic. If there are no demons, then everything will not change much from the previous life. Self-awakening? Tang Yu looked at Tang Mao with surprise. Although there are people who are self-awakened, there are really too few of them. But I didn't expect that Tang Mao is one of the 10,000th. Tang Mao's mouth corner slightly raised, and then he said, "Don't be so excited. I haven't finished speaking just now. Be reserved for a while. Wait for me to finish." "You are excited? What do you mean?" Tang Yu paused, looking at Tang Mao with some confusion. Just when Tang Yu was puzzled, the temperature around her dropped instantly. Tang Yu's major was fire attribute, and the sudden drop in temperature made her look at Tang Mao. She saw that Tang Mao's body was actually covered with thick ice. 0° ice vine. Frozen. At this time, Tang Mao's first ice magic had been released. A cold light flashed instantly, and then more than 10 trees in front of her were directly frozen into ice sculptures in an instant. Tang Yu covered her mouth with both hands. Her charming eyes were full of shock. Although she felt that Tang Mao was extraordinary, since she was a child, she didn't expect that Tang Mao could be so outstanding. Question mark? Moreover, the control of this ice magic seems to be better than the proficiency of thunder magic. In other words, Tang Mao first practiced ice magic? Tang Yu hesitated for a moment before saying, "What's going on?" "When I woke up half a year ago, I found myself awakened. First it was the thunder system, then the ice system. Then I went to the village to look through the magic teaching, and in the next half a year, I completed the release of 2 systems of magic." Tang Mao paused, and then said, "And, when I awakened, I seemed to have my own soul seed field." Tang Yu covered her heaving chest, and her emotions seemed to be abnormally excited. It was as if she was more excited than getting these herself. After a moment of silence, Tang Yu approached Tang Mao, stretched out her hands, and placed them on Tang Mao's face, looked up at him and said, "Are you still human?" Tang Mao had already pouted her lips waiting for a kiss of love, but she didn't expect that Tang Yu would say this to her in the end. Question mark? "I thought you would give me a kiss," Tang Mao said, and wanted to lean his face over, but Tang Yu defended well. Tang Mao was not given any chance to get close. Tang Yu was helpless for a while, and then said, "Can't you do something serious? This is a very important business for me." Hearing this, Tang Yu dodged, and Tang Mao almost fell down. But after looking back at Tang Yu's proud figure, it seemed that this little difficulty was nothing. "Okay, if you don't give it to me, then go back to eat. I haven't eaten your cooking for a long time." Tang Mao looked at Tang Yu with some anticipation. It's not that Tang Yu's cooking is so delicious, but if the two of them have a candlelight dinner and pair it with some wine to cheer up, wouldn't it be just right for the full moon? Looking at Tang Mao's mean smile, Tang Yu understood that this person's mind was not pure. But Tang Yu naturally didn't care. It's nothing to take advantage of her occasionally, but want to get her? No way. It's not that Tang Yu has no feelings for Tang Mao, it's just that Tang Mao's personality makes her feel insecure. Okay, stop laughing, let's go back. After saying that, Tang Yu twisted her Q elasticity and turned to walk outside. Tang Mao followed behind happily. It must be said that the scenery behind is not inferior to the front. Looking at it, Tang Mao's left hand stretched out disobediently. After seeing this scene, the black snake on his shoulder was full of contempt. Before Tang Mao's hand touched the place he wanted to touch, his feet were unstable, and he fell directly to the ground. Tang Yu turned around and laughed. "If you are so shameless again, I will really be angry." Tang Mao stood up and patted the soil and said in a second, "I can't help it. I can't help it." Tang Yu came over and stretched out her hand to pull Tang Mao up. However, after her jade hand was caught, Tang Mao was not pulled up, but she was pulled onto Tang Mao. This sudden force caught Tang Yu off guard. In the end, Tang Mao still got Tang Yu's kiss. Although the old man Tang Zhan asked Tang Yu to be reserved, she really couldn't do it in front of Tang Mao. Even some defenses were unbreakable when they were established, but they had almost no effect on Tang Mao. Fortunately, although Tang Mao was shameless, he did not touch the last bottom line before she completely accepted it physically and mentally. In the evening, after returning home, after eating and washing up, Tang Mao fooled Tang Yu for a while. But after refusing once and twice, she was more obedient. Looking at the starry sky outside the window, Tang Yu said to Tang Mao, who was hugging her from behind, "Do you want to join the tribunal? With your talent, you will definitely get the best resource supply. It's only a matter of time before you surpass me. Joining the tribunal is not easy. That is, Tang Yu has the right to invite someone because of someone above and Tang Mao's talent. He believes that, even if Tang Zhan knows, he will agree. No, I don't want to join any forces. I already have the soul seeds I need, and I have almost passed the magic theory I should learn. And with my current magic power, I can apply for any high school." Tang Mao shook his head. The knowledge of 9-year compulsory education is available in this village. After all, there are people above me, so it is impossible to go to school. But after high school, this is a serious path of cultivation. As long as the grades in the academy are good, you can get the cultivation resources provided by the academy. The resources of the school may not be worse than those of the big families. The difference is that the school is a big wave. Moreover, it is really not important whether the theory is good or not. What matters is strength. Most people in the village who are qualified have joined some clans or the army, etc. But there are very few who can join the tribunal. After all, the recruitment of personnel in the tribunal is extremely strict. However, he does not want to join any force. Because, if you get help, you need to give up your freedom accordingly. The reason why he gave up this rare opportunity is because Tang Mao understands that only in this way will he not be restricted. Of course, it is mainly because of the relationship between the two systems that have their own soul seeds, so Tang Mao does not have to worry about the problem of consumption. Soul seeds are high consumption, so there is no need to worry about this. What he needs now are just some magic tools. Moreover, after the magic awakening, Tang Mao can no longer continue to eat shigalos. After all, Tang Yu also needs to practice. After becoming a magician, the living expenses given by Tang Yu can't play any role. Moreover, with this talent, can he continue to eat shigalos? Is he Tang Mao that kind of person? PS. After all, some things are still vague and cannot be written quickly. In addition, this book is definitely not a single female protagonist. In the end, don't open your mouth and tell me to collect this and that. What do you think of how I write it? Or be practical. I'm not unsatisfied. Finally, this book is published on Kidian Chinese Network. If you have any comments, please choose Kidian. If you don't like harem, then goodbye here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 4 Magic High School. Tang Yu turned and looked at Tang Mao. Her eyes were charming and charming, with a strong charm. It was estimated that only Tang Mao, who was inferior to her, could stick to the bottom line in this situation. Tang Mao, this is true love. What do you know? Of course, true love can't stand the test sometimes, but often at that moment, Tang Yu's hands would always be on fire. The key point was that the position still made Tang Mao extremely scared. So, it's better not to mention it. Tang Yu was not surprised. Tang Mao himself was a person who didn't like to follow the rules. Otherwise, why would the black snake be at the head of the bed at this time? You know, the black snake used to stay in the center of the lake. That is, after Tang Mao appeared, it chose to follow Tang Mao. Even Tang Zan couldn't make it go back. As for teaching Tang Mao a lesson, he really didn't have the courage. After all, the black snake listened to Tang Mao very much. Gently panting for a breath of fragrance, Tang Yu slapped away Tang Mao's paw in front of her and said shyly, "Have you thought about it? Although there are not so many rules and regulations when joining the academy, if you can't get a good grade, then the speed of cultivation will slow down a lot. With this dual system with its own domain, and this cultivation speed, Tang Mao is the most valuable now. Once this time passes, it will be difficult to join the trial council. After all, it is better to cultivate geniuses from the beginning." Unable to feel soft, Tang Mao had to put his arm around Tang Yu's waist and responded, "I choose to accept training, so if you are bullied, you have to think about the consequences. But if I'm self-reliant, if anyone bullies you, I will take the big snake and kill him in minutes." Tang Yu's mouth twitched slightly. This seemed to be a reason she couldn't refute. Moreover, Tang Mao's personality was indeed not suitable for joining this place of intrigue. Okay, rest. The next day, after Tang Mao woke up, he habitually groped to the side. After touching the cool body, he picked it up and threw it to the end of the bed. "You stupid snake with lustful intentions, why did you run to my bed again?" Although he didn't open his eyes, he was sure who this thing was. Who else could it be, except the totem black snake? After the black snake was thrown to the end of the bed, it hissed and spit out its tongue to express its dissatisfaction. You know, it usually sleeps next to it. As if hearing the dissatisfaction of the black snake, Tang Mao stretched out his foot and stepped on it directly. A dignified monarch, being stepped on by a beginner magician like this, I guess he is the only one in the world who dares to do this? After hearing Tang Mao's complaint, Tang Yu pushed the door open and walked in. Seeing the stepped black snake, he scolded, "Why are you bullying the big guy again? Get up." Hearing Tang Yu's soft voice, Tang Mao opened his eyes a little. He was still quite sleepy. After all, it is not easy to rest at ease with such a beauty by your side. When Tang Yu was wearing an apron and standing in front of him, his heavy eyelids opened instantly. With an apron, I always feel that Tang Yu's charm has been enhanced a lot. She was still sleepy just now, but now she has completely woken up. She turned over and asked for a good morning hug. However, what she got was naturally a jade hand's excuse. "Go wash up and eat. I will guide you to practice later." After saying that, Tang Yu turned around and left the house with cute bullets. After breakfast, Tang Yu began to tutor Tang Mao on some magic knowledge. Tang Yu was really convinced by this guidance. She was a little puzzled. How did Tang Mao practice so fast? These knowledge, it can be said that she knows nothing. The originally charming big sister instantly turned into a strict teacher. As long as Tang Mao didn't understand what she taught, Tang Yu would beat her. But Tang Mao not only did not have any dissatisfaction, but still looked happy. Tang Yu also understood that he must have thought of something strange in his mind. Even several times, when she saw Tang Mao pretending to be stupid, even though he knew the answer, she was really tired. This tiring time lasted for a whole month. Fortunately, Tang Mao's training speed was not slow, so Tang Yu didn't get angry. However, a month passed, and Tang Yu had to leave again, because of the mission. That day, after finishing the guidance, Tang Yu hesitated for a while before saying, "I have a mission tomorrow, and need to go to Bo City. I will introduce you to a high school magic academy in the Magic City. You can go there and practice well. I will visit you when I have time." Bo City? After hearing what Tang Yu said, Tang Mao paused. Tang Yu is going to Bo City now. Doesn't that mean that the place has reached the countdown to destruction? Although there are too many things that I can't remember clearly, the beginning is not the destruction of Bo City. Looking at Tang Yu, Tang Mao asked, "Is there a magic high school in Bo City?" "Don't make a fuss. I'm going to carry out a mission. It's very dangerous for you to go with me." She has watched Tang Mao grow up, and she still understands what he means. Seeing Tang Yu's refusal, Tang Mao said again, "I know, but only with experience can there be improvement. I want to go with you." "No." Tang Mao tried to fight for it, but in the end he compromised. Sometimes you have to admit that Tang Yu also has a queen's temperament. Without getting consent, plus Tang Yu was not in any danger, and he was a weak chicken, Tang Mao gave up the idea of going to Bo City. In fact, it was true that even if he went, it would be useless. After all, the Black Church was just an experiment this time. But his strength did not reach the intermediate level, and he was afraid that he would not even have a chance to save his life. In this case, what excitement would there be? Afterwards, Tang Mao came to a high school magic academy in the Magic City, recommended by Tang Yu. Because he missed the start of school when he came here, it was equivalent to taking a back door. However, because it was the principal who was contacted by the tribunal, he received the treatment of the head teacher. Originally, he felt that life was quite boring, but when he saw his head teacher, Tang Mao was revived. The head teacher was not very old and looked to be only 23 or 24. Although she was only 1.6 meters tall, she was petite and cute, especially her porcelain doll-like face, which made him want to pinch it to feel it. After leaving the principal's office, Tang Mao looked down at the short head teacher and asked, "Teacher Lily, how old are you this year?" Lily paused and seemed a little nervous. She turned back and glared at Tang Mao and said seriously, "Is this a question you should ask as a student?" Tang Mao didn't care and smiled. "It's just asking about age, and I'm not doing anything. Is this illegal?" "I'm 25. Lily was a little helpless and finally had to respond. And Tang Mao said, "Are you a high-level mage?" "Intermediate." "Do you have a boyfriend?" "No." Just as she was about to reply, she reacted immediately. Looking at Tang Mao, he said, "If you continue like this, I will go find the principal and change your class." "Did you just take office? How do you know?" Lily was stunned and stomped her feet angrily and said, "I will really tell the principal." Tang Mao looked at the rookie head teacher who was about to cry and smiled and said, "Just kidding, just kidding. But next time you pretend to be angry, don't shake." After that, Tang Mao walked into his class. Chapter 5 Annual Assessment. Although Lily was not happy with Tang Mao's cheating, she really couldn't do anything to him. After all, the principal specifically explained that Tang Mao was sent by the people of the Trial Council. She still understood what the Trial Council was. After Tang Mao came to the classroom, he introduced himself and looked at the girls in the class. Well, they were all of the middle and lower class, and only the head teacher was a little nice. Immediately, he decided to be a stable handsome man. Because he came through the back door, there were no arrogant people in this class, nor were there any children from aristocratic families. They were all ordinary students with mediocre qualifications. This school is also good. Even in the worst class, the teacher still arranged a mid-level magician. Although this teacher may not know mid-level magic, the reason why he was assigned to the worst class was that Tang Yu specifically instructed him. What he wanted was to let Tang Mao work hard for it. Time flies, spring goes and autumn comes, and in the blink of an eye, a year has passed. In this year, Tang Mao has also successfully reached the second level of the elementary magic of the Thunder system. Ice magic also reached the second level, although he wanted to practice magic to the third level. But even though his practice speed was not slow, he still couldn't do it after a year. However, compared with the younger brothers in the academy, he was already very nice. After all, many of them couldn't release magic. Lily looked at Tang Mao who was standing there in a daze and yelled, "Tang Mao, why are you still in the class? Don't you know that today is the day of the test?" Tang Mao was the only one in Lily's class who was excellent, but everyone in the class had gathered in the playground, but they didn't see Tang Mao. They came to find him immediately, and after seeing him waiting for class, they understood. This guy, he remembered the time wrong again. Don't say it. Tang Mao was really puzzled. When he came to the class, he found that there was no one. He was quite confused and thought it was the weekend today. Tang Mao scratched his head awkwardly and smiled. Ahem. "Teacher Lily, I'm sorry, I forgot Lily had an expression that I knew it was like this." However, even if she had resentment, she couldn't be a complaining woman now. After all, today was a very important day. For students, it was even more important because it would determine who could enter the top class. "Let's go. Let's take the test." After saying that, Lily turned around and left, and Tang Mao followed immediately. This time, he didn't appreciate anything. After all, the test was related to the Stardust magic device, which was also the relationship between the cultivation cheating device, and he naturally couldn't ignore it. After all, this was hardware, and it was extremely important for him in the early stage. Well, no matter what time it was, it seemed to be very important. Tang Mao was not only the last one in this class to arrive at the training playground, but also the last one in the whole school. But fortunately, his class was the worst in grades, so it didn't have much impact. On weekdays, everyone here had practical classes, but today the venue was obviously arranged differently. In addition to the semi-arc examiner's table, there was also a suspended star sensing stone. The star sensing stone looked a bit like a black pebble, as big as a watermelon, and was being dragged by a stone pier at the front of the training ground. This star sense stone is the most important instrument for students' assessment. The annual assessment is very simple. Just like the awakening ceremony, students only need to place their palms on this huge star sense stone, and the examiners can immediately judge the students' cultivation results for the year by the brightness of the star sense stone. Just like the college entrance examination, the fate of students may be determined by this piece of paper. In this world, there are also the same hard indicators. Either continue to study and get better opportunities, or pack up and leave to find another way out. The principal and several directors here have finished their speeches, and the students have begun to go up for the test one by one. Zhang San, Grade C. Li Si, Grade B. Wan Wu, Grade A. Looking at the grades of the people in the front row, Tang Mao felt that they were really weak. This group of younger brothers, they can be abused as much as they want. Dan Fang Hui. After the teacher above shouted, a graceful figure walked out with lotus steps. The woman's body is tall and graceful, about 1.75 meters or more. Although she was wearing a school uniform, her S-class figure still stood out, revealing a hint of cold and arrogant temperament. Her skin was as white as snow, and her long black hair was casually draped over her shoulders. Her cheeks were slightly thin, but extremely delicate. After standing on top, she looked up slightly, and her narrow and slightly lazy eyes were full of enchantment and charm. This sudden appearance of beauty made the younger brothers below excited. Tang Mao looked at the young lady above, and turned back and said, "Teacher Lily, is this girl from the Danfang family?" "That's right." Lily nodded, and then hit her again. "You'd better not be so fanciful. Danfang Hui is very talented, and she is also the goddess of the freshmen in the college." Lily only knew that Tang Mao's magic was thunder magic, and she didn't know much about her strength. After all, Tang Mao has always been a low-key person. Or, he completely disdains to show himself in class. Danfang Hui, S grade. Release next. Then Danfang Hui also released a set of fire. The star track connected very quickly, and then released, almost without stopping. The release results also reached 3RS. Then another group of people took the test, until the sun was high in the sky, and the sun was scorching. It was Tang Mao's turn. Tang Mao walked up and immediately put his hand on the star sense stone. The coldness of the star sense stone soon became gentle under the conduction of Tang Mao's stardust power. Then a purple light emerged, and a stream of thunder spread throughout the star sense stone, and then it was completely released. The strong purple light shocked everyone present. Even Danfang Hui, who had gone down before, felt a little incredible. Lily, the head teacher who had always been unhappy with Tang Mao, was about to jump up with excitement. Such an excellent student appeared in her class, even if he was a little rogue. So what? Give her another dozen. Just flirt with her. After all, the reward a student with outstanding talent gives her is extremely great. Looking at the surprised eyes of the teachers and students in the school, Tang Mao thought to himself, "My charm that has nowhere to go." Of course, he didn't think that others were shocked by his cultivation, but only thought that they were attracted by his handsome appearance. Unfortunately, these teachers and students didn't know that. If they knew what he was thinking, they would definitely tell others not to be too narcissistic. Chapter 6 Strange Jade. This beautiful misunderstanding, at least for now, will not be exposed, and he has already taken the release test. Skilled control and release. Let the score is as high as a plus. Of course, in fact, his release can also reach S. After all, his magic release is really skilled. The elementary second level magic has been completely mastered. But such a result is enough to charm a group of fans. There is still a need to work harder. After the test, they all went their separate ways. A few days later, Tang Mao was assigned to the top class without any surprise. There are about 70 or 80 people in this class, all in the classroom, and practice in the training ground. Those who can go to the top class basically control 7 stars, but some are not particularly skilled in release. So, when it comes to practical classes, it is the top students of each department who show their magical powers. And Lily, who hated Tang Mao the most at the beginning and often talked nonsense from time to time, now has a complete change of attitude. Even if Tang Mao is interested, it is not impossible to talk to him about teacher-student relationship. Because of Tang Mao's relationship, she also successfully mixed into the top class as a teacher. The leap was quite big, and it was a miracle that the short legs could cross over. After a brief introduction to the new students, Lily took out the Stardust magic device. Then she looked at everyone and said, "The first place in this assessment is Tang Mao. The second place is Danfang Hui. The higher the ranking, the longer the time of use." After explaining, Lily placed the ordinary Stardust magic device in front of Tang Mao. Until the end of today's class, when Tang Mao was about to leave, Danfang Hui came over, and a faint fragrance came to her face before she arrived. When Tang Mao turned around, after smelling the faint fragrance, he saw 2 beauties coming over. One was Danfang Hui, and the other was her little fangirl. Looking at Tang Mao, she said somewhat unconvincedly, "This is the first time that I, Danfang Hui, have been crushed by my peers, but it's only this time." Hearing this, Tang Mao waved his hand without much interest and said, "Oh, then you keep going." Originally thought that the other party admired his strength and came to his small hotel to talk about his ideal life, but unexpectedly, he was unconvinced. What else is there to talk about? Tang Mao turned and left, while Danfang Hui and the little fangirls around her were a little slow to react. After all, someone like her is a new goddess. There are not many people who can make her take the initiative to talk to them, but Tang Mao is not very interested. Question mark? Danfang Hui comforted herself in her heart. Humph, he must be playing hard to get, trying to attract my attention. He didn't think much about it. After all, before he had the strength, he would not be interested in provoking a girl from aristocratic families, unless she was given it for free. After leaving school, Tang Mao went back to the house that Tang Yu rented for him in the Magic City. After returning home, after a beautiful bath, lying on the bed, Tang Mao looked at the Stardust magic tool in his hand and the jade pendant in his other hand and thought to himself, "Don't you want to swallow this piece of jade on your body?" He was able to come to this world because of this stone. Oh no, it should be this jade. It seems to have disappeared since he came here. When the magic awakened, it suddenly appeared from the body again. Tang Mao was shocked at that time. Although he didn't know what it was, looking at the cowardly look of the black snake and the way it always followed him, it was obvious that the origin of this jade was definitely not simple. Moreover, it seemed that it was also because of this jade that Tang Mao felt that his cultivation speed was so fast. After thinking about it, Tang Mao took out his mobile phone and called Tang Yu. Beep. Beep. After a burst of noise, Tang Yu answered the phone. "It's so late, why don't you sleep?" The sexy and soft voice floated over, but it seemed to be a little sleepy. "I miss you. You haven't come to see me for a long time." Tang Yu seemed to be awakened from a sweet dream, and there was a little bit of dissatisfaction. "I'm hanging up if you keep talking nonsense." "Okay, I have something on me. It seems to be a Stardust magic weapon, but I don't know much about it, so I called to ask you." Knowing that Tang Yu was taking a beauty sleep, Tang Mao had to give up teasing her. "Oh." Tang Yu paused, then said, "When did you have the Stardust magic tool? How come I didn't know about it?" Tang Mao's mouth twitched slightly, but it was not Tang Yu's fault. After all, no matter where he threw the jade, it would appear in his magic galaxy. If it was not summoned by mind, it would not show up at all. This Stardust magic tool is like a companion. It has always been in my mind. As long as it is summoned, it will emerge. Of course, this is after the magic awakening. I forgot to tell you last time, when you have time, I will come to you, or you come to me. Tang Mao has always been unreserved for his future wife. After hearing what Tang Mao said, Tang Yu was indeed completely sleepy. Then he said, I will come to you tomorrow, take a rest first. Don't tell anyone about this. Finally, Tang Yu also reminded Tang Mao that no matter whether it is a good thing or not, it is necessary not to show off your wealth. Okay, I know, don't worry. Good night, good night. The next day, in order to welcome Tang Yu's arrival, Tang Mao directly asked for leave. Speaking of which, there is not much to learn in school. After all, the theory is about how to deal with demons and how to use magic properly, but for a man like him who is born with multiple systems, isn't it enough to just become stronger? The best way to kill time is naturally to practice. For normal people, meditation can only last for 1 hour a day, but he is different. With the Stardust magic device, it can almost reach 4 hours. After Tang Mao finished practicing, Tang Yu also hurried over. Looking at her dusty appearance, Tang Mao smiled and said, why are you in such a hurry? I didn't go anywhere today. I have been waiting for you. Tang Yu took off her coat and sat on the sofa. Tang Mao took a wine glass and took out her favorite red wine. He poured a glass for her and said, how is your mission going? Tang Yu said a little disappointedly, no progress. Tang Mao smiled and sat next to her, wanting to explore the changes. It's okay, at least you are a lot more beautiful after not seeing you for this period of time. Although Dongfang Hui is also very charming, her charm is obviously much worse in front of Tang Yu. Seeing Tang Mao reaching out, Tang Yu decisively slapped it away and glared at Tang Mao. Take out your jade, let me see it. She didn't understand. Wouldn't it be boring every day? Besides, isn't there something serious to do today? Tang Mao sat next to Tang Yu with a playful smile. The reason why he didn't reveal his true nature in the academy was that there was nothing to tease. It was not easy to get one, but she happened to be the daughter of a noble family. It's not easy to fool a girl, why waste that time? Tang Mao immediately focused his mind, and then a piece of jade emerged in his hand. This is the jade I told you about. It seems to provide acceleration for my cultivation, but I don't know if this is a Stardust magic weapon. Tang Mao was actually just curious whether the jade in his hand could absorb essence like the jade in the protagonist's hand. After observing it for a while, Tang Yu nodded and said, it is indeed a Stardust magic weapon, and it seems to have a powerful magical pressure. I have a student, and he also has a strange Stardust magic weapon. Tang Yu has seen Emofan's Stardust magic weapon. Then he told the whole story. You are very optimistic about this student? Tang Mao naturally knew the whole story, but his focus was different. After seeing Tang Mao's unhappy look, she smiled and said, why, are you jealous? Yeah. Tang Mao did not deny it, and nodded directly to admit it. Tang Yu snorted and said, I just think this student has good potential. I paid attention to him, and you are jealous. Then why do you flirt with girls all day long? Tang Mao's mouth twitched slightly, and then said, I was just learning how to socialize. Bah, scumbag. I really don't know who taught you these things. Tang Mao waved his hand and said, okay, let's not talk about this. He is not a chaste person, and Tang Yu will never let him down, so there is no need to be fussy about some things. As for the relationship between Tang Yu and Demofan, with him around, they can only be ordinary friends. He still has this confidence. After listening for a long time, Tang Mao said, so you mean that my Stardust magic weapon can also grow? Tang Yu nodded and said, and, if I'm not mistaken, its growth should be related to the totem we are guarding. At this time, Tang Yu also understood why the black snake listened to Tang Mao so much. It should be related to the jade. But even for them, a group of guardians, they don't know much about totems. Tang Mao had a general understanding, but Tang Yu didn't know whether this thing could absorb essence, residual soul, etc. However, Tang Yu pointed out a clear way for him. When you are strong enough in the future, just go and kill a demon and try it, and you will know. Tang Mao was also stunned. The answer to this question seemed to be true, but it is definitely not possible now. The demon territory is not a joke. Chapter 7. Hard to find a job. Although Tang Yu solved the problem, Tang Mao had no intention of letting her go. He kept her here for 3 days. After 3 days, Tang Yu still had to leave. After all, she still had a mission to do. As for the totem, Tang Yu told Tang Mao that his current strength was not enough to contact it, so he just had to practice well. Tang Mao also agreed. He had a good idea of his own strength. Although the black snake could follow him, there were not a few monarchs in the demon territory of this world. He might not be able to fly around the world with just a black snake. In the following days, in addition to practicing, Tang Mao studied some totem information every day. Unfortunately, there was too little information. As for trying to communicate with the jade, he also tried, but it seemed to have no effect. A month passed in a flash. After his practice, the Stardust magic artifact should be handed over to Danfang Hui. When she gave it to her, Tang Mao asked in confusion, "Does your Danfang family still lack this kind of Stardust magical artifact?" After the brief conversation that day, Danfang Hui always felt that Tang Mao was playing hard to get with her. He wanted her to pay attention to him. However, after a month, she realized that she seemed to have thought too much. The other party had no intention at all. It was rare to see Tang Mao take the initiative to speak. Danfang Hui responded, "No, but I don't like to enjoy the resources of the family." Oh. Tang Mao felt a little funny. He didn't expect that this girl wanted to fly solo. Born in the Danfang family, it should be something that many people dream of. Danfang Hui said in a light voice, "That's for others. If possible, I would rather be born in an ordinary family." It seemed that she didn't want to continue talking about this topic. Danfang Hui said again, "What realm are you in now? You are a girl, and you are so competitive?" Danfang Hui snorted lightly, turned around and twisted her little hips, and said, "Forget it," and left. Tang Mao shrugged. Although this asterisk is good, his personality is a little disliked by him. After handing over the Stardust magical device, Tang Mao left the school. To join the academy, all you need is resources. As for learning, there is really nothing to learn. And this little bit of resources is really pitiful, even if the cultivation speed is extremely fast. But with this little bit of things, Tang Mao needs at least 1 or even 2 years to break through to the intermediate level. This is a case of only practicing and not doing anything else. So, if you want to quickly improve your cultivation, you must have money. But then again, if you want to make money, you must have strength. After all, the city demon hunting team of the magic city, that is, you have to reach the intermediate level of magicians to join. There is no other. There are not only demons in this world. There are also some aliens, and they have to face this situation. But the strength of these aliens is not worse than that of demons. So without the intermediate level of strength, they are completely mixed. But even so, Tang Mao still came to a small hall of the Hunter Alliance. After all, although he can do these jobs such as washing dishes, and delivering to Kiert. But what's the use of that little money? Although it is a small Hunter Alliance in the Magic City, there are still many people. There are nearly thousands of people coming and going in the whole building, some of whom are those who have left, and those who are new. Looking at the bounties in the hall, Tang Mao is a little helpless. Every one of them is very profitable, and he thinks he can do some of them. But unfortunately, the level is not enough. Even though his magic power is not weak, he still can't get into the team without the hunter level. There are all kinds of recruitments, but after searching for a long time, he didn't see any need for a beginner mage. Of course, he still didn't see any suitable bounties. It's not worth taking risks without money. Just when he had been conveying the message for a long time and still had no suitable reward, he was about to give up and leave. He heard a muscular man in the hall shouting, "Thunderbolt Squad, sincerely recruiting a mid-level fire mage. The reward has been accepted. The reward is 150,000, and the body of a warlord level sea fish monster is brought back. There is news now, and the other party is alone. 150,000 bounty, so much. And the coordinates are already known, but it's a pity that I'm not a fire mage. The strength of the sea fish monster is something that 7 or 8 mid-level mages may not be able to deal with. What's the use of a high bounty? Alas, disperse." Disperse. Tang Mao stood there, listening to everyone talking, and then they left. Hesitated, walked up to the shouting man and said, "I'm not a mid-level mage, but I'm a thunder mage, can I join?" The man saw the crowd dispersed, and was about to change places to recruit people. Who knew Tang Mao came over? Tang Mao looked handsome, and was obviously a rookie. He was probably still in school, right? In this case, he didn't even bother to pay attention. However, after hearing what Tang Mao said, the tough guy paused. He turned around and looked at Tang Mao and said, "Boy, what did you say? You are a thunder mage." Tang Mao nodded and then said, "I'm now very proficient in the second level thunder magic." The tough guy shook his head. The reason why he was surprised just now was because he didn't expect that a thunder mage would come to participate in the bounty in the imperial capital. Question mark? Especially Tang Mao, who doesn't look very old. As long as he says that he is a thunder mage, he can get along anywhere, right? The tough guy paused and then said, "Ahem. Brother, you are not kidding me, are you? We are going to the outside of a safe world to deal with demons. Demons kill people without blinking an eye. This is not a joke. I'm not kidding, I'm serious." As he said that, star tracks appeared in Tang Mao's hand, and deep purple thunder condensed instantly. This thunder. The tough guy has been in the arena for many years, so he naturally saw the extraordinariness of thunder at a glance. If he guessed correctly, this could even be a spirit seed, right? But at the same time, he felt even more strange. How could such a person be short of money to risk his life for a bounty? My thunder is a natural spirit seed. Tang Mao did not say that thunder was in the realm of soul seeds. After all, he was also a low-key person. "How about I join you?" The tough guy hesitated for a moment and then said solemnly, "This is very dangerous. With your talent, you have a bright future. Moreover, I think as long as you join any force and get trained, you can become a strong man in a few years." Seeing the future flowers of the motherland, he really didn't want the other party to participate in such a dangerous bounty. Moreover, although this kid Thunder is fierce, he is a scum who has never left the security world. If he takes him out to see demons and dares not release magic, wouldn't that be a pit for himself? I'm not interested in joining any faction, and I won't joke with my life. If you're worried that I won't be able to cast magic when I see a demon, then you can rest assured. I can cast a star track with just a thought. Chapter 8, Leading the Snake Experience. Tang Mao has always been able to reach the first star track, but his talent is really too abnormal. So no one knows about this except Tang Yu. But now if he wants to get a job and make money, he has no choice but to reveal it. A sea fish monster of the general level, with the help of the people in their team and himself, it may be possible to kill it in seconds. After all, his second level lightning magic is not weaker than the first level magic of the intermediate fire system. This was tested with Tang Yu. The tough guy was so shocked that he couldn't close his mouth at this time. He looked at Tang Mao with full shock, and at the same time he was extremely envious. He didn't understand how there could be such a person in the world. A lightning magic that comes with a spirit seed, that's fine, but he actually has a natural talent? How can people live like this? After being shocked for a moment, the tough guy said, "Boy, although I don't know your situation, you are still too young after all. I really can't take you out of the safe zone. I don't have enough strength to guarantee your safety. If you have any accidents, I will become a sinner. Let him take such a talented person out of the safe zone. If he can't bring him back, he will really become a sinner. After all, when demons are rampant, how important is a genius to the country?" Obviously, this tough guy still has a sense of responsibility. Tang Mao had some helplessness and finally had to leave. The other party was also for his own good, although he didn't need it. But since he had already refused, there was no point in staying. After leaving the Hunter Hall, Tang Mao went to search a few more places. But there was no bounty for the beginner mages in the Magic City. The city monster hunting team was still the same. Tang Mao had to admire the protagonist's aura. It was so powerful. It was obviously just a beginner level 1 thunder mage, but he could already make money, but he couldn't even do it at level 2. Of course, the location is also one aspect. In a small city like Bochum, there are only a few higher level mages. in the Magic City, not to mention high-level mages, there are even many super-level mages. In the end, Tang Mao, who was a little disappointed, had to choose to go back to school obediently. Although there were no stunning beauties on campus, the white legs along the way were still very pleasing to his eyes. Tang Mao? Just as he was about to go to the training ground, he heard the call of his head teacher Lily from behind. Hearing the voice, Tang Mao stopped. Teacher Lily. Lily walked over with her hips twisted and said, "Didn't you take a leave? Why are you back again?" Tang Mao shrugged and replied, "Alas, it's hard to say." It was the first time that Lily saw Tang Mao dejected. She felt a little curious and said, "What happened? You still feel dejected?" Tang Mao thought about it and finally told her about his interview today. After listening to Tang Mao, Lily looked at him in disbelief and said, "Are you short of money? Nonsense. With your talent and the support of the tribunal, are you kidding me?" Lily said in disbelief. After all, Tang Mao was sent by the tribunal. Now he says he's short of money? How is that possible? Who can believe it? I think you may have misunderstood. I have nothing to do with the tribunal. Otherwise, would I still need to find a job? Besides, I will be assigned to your class after I come here. At this moment, Tang Mao finally felt the pressure of entering society. This seems to be no different from his previous life. As long as you want to live more glorious and decent life, you have to make some efforts. However, before you get your diploma, there is no place for you to work hard. Lily pouted angrily, slapped Tang Mao, and said angrily, "What do you mean you have connections and can be assigned to my class? Why are you so annoying?" Although the students she got at the beginning were indeed mediocre in qualifications. But, is this because she is not capable? This is clearly the reason why she started work late. Tang Mao was too lazy to think about it anymore. He looked at Lily and said, "You took off because of me. Don't you know to treat me to a meal?" "No." Lily snorted lightly and then pushed Tang Mao away and walked towards the teaching building. On the way, Tang Mao thought about how to improve his strength as soon as possible and came to the trial field. When he was about to practice ice magic, he suddenly paused because he suddenly thought of a solution to the problem. That is to focus on one system first, isn't it? It seems that there is no need to practice both systems together. Before, I just thought that Mo-fan was practicing dual cultivation, so he has always practiced both systems together. However, if you use the time for two systems to focus on one system, the effect will be completely different. After thinking it through, Tang Mao started to practice with peace of mind. As long as you reach the intermediate level, you can accept the bounty and have income, then you still worry about the speed of practice. However, Tang Mao did not choose thunder first, but chose ice. After all, the power of thunder is indeed strong, but the speed of practice is extremely slow. Due to the relationship between the domain, the attack power of ice is not weak at all. Time passed quickly, and summer vacation came. This time, in the magic test, Tang Mao was still the first, and in half a year, his ice magic has reached the third level. However, if you want to break through the intermediate level without any advanced resources, you can only think about it. If it is normal practice, even if his speed is very fast, even several times that of others. But for Tang Mao, it is still not enough. Moreover, blindly practicing without actual combat will definitely not work. So during the summer vacation, Tang Mao returned to the village. He secretly took the totem snake away from here. The totem snake tried to choose to guard here, but he had no other choice. If you want to improve quickly, fighting is the only choice. Otherwise, so many people like to practice. However, if he goes out to practice by himself, it will definitely not work. In the land of demons, even a team may suffer a crisis, let alone he is a beginner magician. So although I know this shouldn't happen, as long as I don't leave with the black snake for too long, there shouldn't be a big problem. Half a day later, Tang Mao brought the black snake to the outside of the West Fortress. If it weren't for the black snake, he really couldn't get out. This time, Tang Mao's target of the trial was the Lingclaw plague rat. This kind of demon rat is known as the weakest among the demons. With Tang Mao's strength, it is naturally not difficult to deal with them. The reason why he brought the black snake was to be on the safe side. If he encountered a war general level rat, or a lineage of white magic eagles living in Xyling to look for food, he would be in great danger. Chapter 9 New Semester. After seeing the forest was quiet everywhere, Tang Mao whispered, "Big snake, where is the prey for training? Take me to find it." The black snake spit out its tongue and pointed the way to Tang Mao. Its perception is so strong that it is not difficult to find the existence of slave monsters. In a moment, under the guidance of the black snake, Tang Mao saw where 4 or 5 Lingclaw plague rats were foraging. However, he was not interested in what they were doing. After jumping up, he released lightning magic. Boom sounded, and several rats died directly. He had thought that he would fight, but he really didn't expect that this battle would be so easy? At the same time, some light spots flew out and poured into Tang Mao. Then he saw the illusory shadow of the jade pendant appearing on his hand at some point. After absorbing these, Tang Mao could be sure that his jade had the same function as that of Emofan. As for not swallowing the ordinary magic weapon, it should be because he thought it was too low level. Chi. Just as Tang Mao was thinking, another Lingclaw plague rat suddenly pounced from behind. Tang Mao had no time to react, but fortunately the black snake had been paying attention, and when the rat was about to bite Tang Mao, it was killed instantly by the black snake. After dealing with the Lingclaw plague rat that attacked secretly, the black snake spit out its snake letter and told Tang Mao, when fighting in the wild, even if it is over, you must not let your guard down. It naturally discovered the existence of this rat early, but the black snake did not intend to move. After all, it is not always following Tang Mao. Tang Mao was scared and sweated coldly, although this thing is rubbish. However, if you get bitten, it must be unpleasant. Fortunately, I had foresight and brought you with me. Otherwise, this weakest Lingclaw plague rat would be enough to deal with me. Tang Mao said, after calming down for a moment, feeling like he had survived a disaster. The black snake was full of teaching, constantly spitting out its tongue and commanding Tang Mao. In addition, it also told Tang Mao that it could not stay here for too long. Once its breath was detected, the other party might start a war. The black snake was not afraid, but once the war broke out, the situation in Hangzhou would not be optimistic. It guarded Hangzhou, and the other party might not dare to fight, but if it invaded their territory, that would be different. Tang Mao had almost no pressure in killing these mice. In this case, even if he stayed here, it would be useless. The most important thing was that these little mice did not even feel a little threatening. As for beating out a spirit, he wanted to, but it was not easy to get one together. As for going deeper, it was likely to provoke a war. In the end, this so-called experience ended in just half a day. On the way back, because of the black snake's protection, there was no accident. Alas, it's really too difficult. In the end, I don't know how strong I am. After returning home, Tang Mao lay on the bed and muttered to the black snake. The black snake seemed to give a very bad evaluation. Very bad. Tang Mao was unhappy to hear it. The cross-race fight between a man and a snake was staged again. Just when they were arguing, Tang Yu called hello without waiting for Tang Mao to say a few words of love. Tang Yu asked in a reproachful tone, "Did you take everyone away from the village?" Tang Mao was stunned and asked in confusion, "How do you know?" Tang Yu said somewhat weakly, "Uncle went back today, and he found that the black snake was not there, and you were not at home. And there was no trace of you around." Tang Mao felt a headache. He didn't expect that he would be discovered less than a day after leaving. She immediately explained what happened today to Tang Yu. After Tang Yu found out, she didn't get angry and blamed him as she had imagined, but asked softly, "Are you short of money now?" "It's okay, I just feel that my cultivation is a little slow." Tang Yu said again, "I have 8 million in my hand now, I'll give it to you first." After hearing about the background of this little rich woman, Tang Mao was envious. But she still shook her head and said, "No, the situation should change." After reaching the intermediate level, after hesitating for a while, Tang Yu said, "I don't want you to be a hunter." Tang Mao had almost never fought with demons, so she was really worried about letting him participate in the hunter bounty. Even if she was saving this money to buy magic tools, she could give it to Tang Mao without hesitation. I'm not a child anymore, and you know my strength. Tang Yu hesitated for a while, and then said, what you met today is the weakest servant among the demons. I know. Don't worry, I'm still waiting to make a villain with you, and I won't joke with my life. After knowing that his persuasion was fruitless, Tang Yu thought for a while and said, when your strength reaches the intermediate level, I will introduce you to a private hunting place. Okay. Tang Mao is a newcomer, and it is naturally good to have someone to lead him. He did not refuse this. After chatting for a while, Tang Mao saw a message on his mobile phone not long after the phone was hung up. A transfer of 8 million was received in the bank card. If this was in the previous life, Tang Mao would be crazy happy. After all, this is 8 million. A life of peace and quiet, no worries about food and drink. Being an ordinary person in this world is naturally enough. But for the practice of a magician, it is obviously still the tip of the iceberg. Tang Mao did not intend to reply. After all, this money was enough for him to break through the intermediate level in half the time. Although he was tough on the outside, Tang Mao finally chose to accept it. Besides, why should a couple be so clear about it? Besides, wasn't Tang Yu responsible for his food and drink expenses later? A summer vacation was spent in boring practice again. This was already the end of his third vacation. Many of the students who enrolled in the same batch had been kicked out at this time. Although some people have awakened magic, they do not have the qualifications and a lot of resources, so they can only be eliminated. Even if they work hard, they are just wasting time. The remaining students are practicing more diligently. Magic High School is different from university institutions. There are only 3 years to practice here. It is not said whether you can release intermediate magic within 3 years. As long as you can't reach the intermediate magician, you don't have to think about university. Of course, some people may retreat at home for a year, break through the intermediate level and sign up. Some people directly choose to give up being a magician. After all, although there are many demons, they are still worry-free in the security world. Even some people in the central city have never seen demons. Chapter 10, Lightning Favors. After Tang Mao came to the elite class, he saw that his classmates had changed again. There were fewer familiar faces, and at the same time, there were more unfamiliar faces. Just after he sat down, Dongfang Hui came to his side. Seeing her excited face, Tang Mao asked in confusion, are you so happy because you ate B-shit? Dongfang Hui was just very happy, but after hearing what Tang Mao said, her face suddenly turned pale. After not seeing you for a summer vacation, why are you still so annoying? Tang Mao smiled and then said, isn't this to attract Miss Dongfang's attention? Dongfang Hui is not a fool. After knowing each other for half a year, so she would not believe what Tang Mao said. Tang Mao did tease Lily a few times, but he always treated her as a classmate. She pouted and snorted, why didn't I see it? She looked like a little hoof, but she looked quite cold. Tang Mao felt a little bored and asked, is there anything? Dongfang Hui saw Tang Mao asking and happily replied, my elementary magic has reached the 2nd level. Tang Mao originally thought that this girl had figured it out and was going to take the initiative. He even thought about where to go on a date in the evening, but that's it. Dongfang Hui was unhappy with Tang Mao's reaction and said, what do you mean? Isn't this enough? Tang Mao shook his head and said nothing. After all, he was almost reaching the level of mid-level magician. Dongfang Hui was a competitive girl, and the reason why she wanted to surpass Tang Mao was because the highest level school in the imperial capital, other towns, only the first place in each region, had the opportunity to enter. Therefore, in order to get a better training environment and resources, she had to work hard. But Tang Mao's attitude made her very unhappy. She felt like she was being looked down upon. Dongfang Hui's pride was ignored like this, and she was a little angry and said, do you look down on me? Do you dare to compete with me? Isn't it forbidden to compete in magic under the age of 18? You. Dongfang Hui was speechless, and then snorted a few times and left here. Walk to another seat. Tang Mao looked at Nanli next to him, who was also the top 10 in this top class. He wondered, this guy really wants to surpass me. Do you know why? Nanli and Tang Mao had a good relationship. After hearing what Tang Mao said, he explained, "You don't know about the recruitment of students by the Imperial Capital Academy, do you?" "I don't know." Tang Mao had no intention of going to the Imperial Capital at all, so why would he care about this? After Nan Li told Tang Mao about the recruitment of students by the Imperial Capital Academy, Tang Mao finally understood why she wanted to surpass him after he crushed this girl. It turned out to be because of this. I see. After knowing what the situation was, it felt worse than not knowing. After all, Tang Mao just thought that it was his halo that made the girl competitive, and maybe she could make some progress in the future. But now it seems that this is not the case. She was just afraid that he would take her place. She had waited so long in vain, but the result was nothing. How could he say that he was not disappointed? Sure enough, if he wanted to get the girl's admiration, he would be fake without some amazing results. At this time, the head teacher Lily walked in. Then she looked at everyone and said, "Classmates, this is our 4th semester. Everyone's strength has been greatly improved, but there is still a year and a half before everyone will graduate. If you want to go to a good school, you must work hard in this year and a half." After Lily's encouragement and pressure, she began to talk about today's class. The course is nothing more than getting familiar with various known monsters and how to deal with them. Tang Mao has never been interested in theoretical classes. He is either practicing or sleeping. And when it comes to release classes, he is controlling. Although he has natural talent, after the stardust turns into a nebula, he still has to accumulate stars. So, there is no harm in practicing now. Of course, he is still more difficult to satisfy because the time for meditation is too little. After the morning class, Tang Mao stopped Dan Fang Hui who was about to leave. Although many people in the class noticed it, the excitement of these two people was not something they could get involved in. After watching everyone leave one after another, Dan Fang Hui said, "Why are you stopping me? You want to apply for the Imperial Capital Academy?" Tang Mao asked directly without beating around the bush. Dan Fang Hui nodded, did not deny it, and then said confidently, "I will definitely surpass you when I graduate." Tang Mao smiled and mocked, "I'm about to reach level 3. Where do you get the confidence from?" "What?" She was a little surprised, but she didn't question it at all, because she didn't think Tang Mao would lie to her, and it seemed unnecessary, right? Although she felt disappointed, Dan Fang Hui still insisted, "So what? I still have 1.5 years to go. I will definitely surpass you." Tang Mao smiled and looked at the girl who was fighting for her dream with a playful look on her face and said, "How about this? I'll give you a chance." "I'll give you the spot?" Dan Fang Hui heard this, clenched her jade fist and hit him directly. "Go to hell." Tang Mao dodged it easily and immediately stepped back a few steps. At this time, Dan Fang Hui had already decided to use magic. After seeing this scene, Tang Mao hurriedly said, "Stop, stop, stop. I'm kidding." Seeing Dan Fang Hui looking at him with a vigilant face, Tang Mao shrugged and said, "I'm not going to leave the Magic City. I'm going to the Pearl Academy, and I won't compete with you. So, you don't have to compete with me all day long." Dan Fang Hui let down his guard, and then said with some disbelief, "You mean you don't want to go to the Imperial Capital Academy?" Tang Mao nodded, and then said, "I have never meant to leave the Magic City." Dan Fang Hui said again, "Then why don't you go to the Pearl Academy to sign up?" "Please, I'm just a beginner magician. What the hell can I sign up for?" Tang Mao wanted to go to the Pearl Academy. After all, the resources there must be no worse than here. However, he is only at the beginner level now, so there is no chance for him to go there. Don't you know that the Pearl Academy does not look at the level of the Thunder students it recruits? Dan Fang Hui stared at Tang Mao and said in a low voice, "What did you say?" Hearing this, Tang Mao was stunned and then looked at Dan Fang Hui in shock and couldn't believe it and said, "Is this true? This is my first time writing about full-time Mage, so please bear with me if there are any mistakes. If you don't like it, just say goodbye. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 11 Pearl Academy. After Tang Mao learned the news from Dongfang Hui, he left the school and asked Tang Yu after returning home. Tang Yu said that she didn't know, but she asked him about it. The result was indeed true. After learning about this, Tang Mao asked Tang Yu to apply for a transfer here and headed to Mingsu Academy. In terms of resources, Mingsu Academy is obviously much stronger than the Magic High School, where he is now. Moreover, the 3-step tower is a weapon before high-level magic. However, although there is only one thunder system among more than 1,000 people, there are tens of thousands of candidates nationwide. With the status of Mingsu Academy, which ranks among the top in the country, if it weren't for his thunder system natural soul seed, he would really have no temper to go directly to the interview. The interview location is in Mingsu Academy. After the 3 examiners of Mingsu Academy asked some slightly in-depth magic knowledge one by one, they asked Tang Mao to test the strength of Stardust. When they saw the thunder emerging in Tang Mao's palm, everyone present was shocked. Because this is a natural soul seed. Moreover, the shock obviously did not end there. After Tang Mao showed his one thought star track, he directly received a gift package for entry. Obviously, the saying that gold will shine sooner or later is not just a casual saying. After the entrance examination, Dean Zhao brought Tang Mao to the principal's office. He asked in confusion, with your talent, even if you go to the Imperial Capital Academy, you can still get the best training. Why do you choose the Pearl Academy? There are so many freaks in the Imperial Capital Academy. I'm a person without a big force to support me. I can still be proud of myself at the beginner and intermediate levels. But I will definitely fall behind at the high level threshold. Tang Mao did not pretend to be cool and said one of the reasons for not going to the Imperial Capital Academy. He said, and if I go to the Pearl Academy, with my strength, I think I will get more resources after reaching the intermediate level. The other reason is, of course, because if there is anything here, he can directly call the Black Snake to protect him. Dean Zhao smiled and then said, although the academy should treat everyone fairly, I will give you some appropriate preferential treatment for your talent. But as you said, since there is no big power to support you, you need to work hard on your own. The academy is fair, and just in that it selects only 1 out of 10,000. But which academy doesn't want to cultivate an outstanding genius? After all, this will be recognized by them in China and even in the world. Moreover, the most important thing is the competition among the world's academies. After seeing Tang Mao's extremely powerful thunder, Dean Zhao decided to cultivate him. Of course, he also had selfish motives. That is, he wanted Tang Mao to remember the goodness of his alma mater when he stood on the world stage. Tang Mao smiled and said, thank you Dean Zhao first. After getting the thunder resources from Dean Zhao, that is, the entry gift package, Tang Mao was a little dumbfounded. Because these resources are enough for him to rush to the 3rd level. Moreover, even if the thunder magic breaks through the intermediate level, it is only a matter of time. Knock, knock, knock. Just as the two were talking, someone knocked on the door of the principal's office. Come in. Dean Zhao said softly after hearing the knock. As Dean Zhao finished speaking, a middle-aged uncle with an ordinary appearance, about 40 years old, walked in. Looking at Dean Zhao, he said, Dean, are you looking for me? This is the instructor of the Thunder Department, Sun Yuan. He is a high-level Thunder Department mage. From today on, he will be your instructor. After Dean Zhao introduced the middle-aged man, he looked at Sun Yuan and said, his name is Tang Mao, and he is a new student who came to the college for an interview. From now on, he will be in your hands. Sun Yuan paused, then looked at Tang Mao with some disdain in his eyes. It seemed that he felt that Dean Zhao had given him a scumbag, so he said, Dean Zhao, although there are very few awakenings in the Thunder Department, but those recruited by our Pearl Academy are 1 in a million. Zilla. Before Sun Yuan finished speaking, Tang Mao stretched out his palm and thunder emerged. At the same time, the purple thunder field was also surrounding him. At the moment when Tang Mao showed his strength, the sofas nearby were instantly reduced to ashes. Dean Zhao looked at the sofa he bought at a high price and shouted distressedly, okay, stop, stop. and Sun Yuan's disdain just now has completely disappeared at this time. If the student with the thunder system is found outside, he must try his best to pull him to his college. Hahaha kid, you have a temper. I misunderstood you just now. My fault. From now on, follow me, in Mingsu Academy, except for the principal, who dares to bully you. The teacher will use a thunder in a minute, to let him know the horror of the thunder mage. Sun Yuan's attitude changed drastically, and even jumped directly from disdain to liking. That luck seemed to be more shining than seeing a beautiful woman. Tang Mao just wanted to prove himself to avoid trouble. After being recognized, he naturally put away the thunder immediately. Teacher Sun, I'm not the second generation you imagined. I just came here to learn and become stronger. Please give me more advice in the future. Sun Yuan smiled, then took Tang Mao away and said, okay, let's go. I'll arrange a dormitory for you. Dean Zhao looked at his sofa with a painful look on his face. When he was about to blame him, he saw that Tang Mao and the others were gone. On the way, Sun Yuan and Tang Mao talked about the situation of Mingsu Academy. There are not many people in their thunder department, only 200 or 300. But they are all elites picked from thousands of miles away. Those with stronger strength can already release intermediate third level magic. And those who reach high level thunder magic can participate in the graduation assessment and complete graduation. Of course, there are naturally many students in this academy, but most of them are still water, light, and earth. There are also many fire departments, nearly 2,000, but not many have been on campus. But compared with the other departments, it is still a little worse. Although there are few people, there are corresponding advantages. There are not many people in the thunder department, but there is still a tradition of challenging the ranking. Moreover, as long as he reaches the top 20, he will have the opportunity to practice in the 3-step tower. The 3-step tower is what Tang Mao needs. Moreover, there are not many people in the thunder school. With his natural talent and soul seed thunder, he can kill many people in seconds even now. Sun Yuan first arranged a place for Tang Mao to stay, and then took him to the place where the thunder school practiced. Here, Tang Mao also met Kun Kun, another teacher from the thunder school. Chapter 12 New Self-Awakening. Today was the right time for him to sign up, because in 3 days, it would be the new challenge week. Other departments would only get resources if they ranked within the top 500. But the thunder department was different. Even if they ranked at the bottom, they would still have corresponding resources. What boy was not interested in being in the limelight? However, he had lived 2 lives after all. He would not be stupid enough to be in the limelight now. Moreover, with the entry gift package and the supply of thunder department resources, he could still be promoted to the intermediate level in a short time. The most important thing was that there was almost no difference between the top 100 thunder department resources, so even if he challenged, it would not be interesting. His enrollment was ordinary, without any disturbance. However, he was originally a sophomore student, and his airborne landing in the Pearl Academy still surprised many people. Especially the 2 teachers still took care of him, which made many students in the thunder department feel puzzled about him. But Tang Mao rarely appeared, except when sharing resources. He was not very interested in what the 2 teachers taught. It was fine a few days before enrollment, but after that, he was completely free range. However, neither Sun Yuan nor Kun Kun had any unhappy opinions. After all, he was born with a great talent. Born with soul seeds and a star track of one thought. As long as he was a student of Mingsu Academy and a student of their thunder teacher, that was enough. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed since he entered school. When the winter vacation came, Tang Mao finally advanced both the ice and thunder systems to the intermediate level. And when the second system advanced to the intermediate level, his soul was brought to the vast spiritual universe. He was not unfamiliar with this feeling, because it was the same when he first awakened magic. While watching his thunder and ice nebulae shining, he also saw the flickering of the jade, and around it, 2 more stardust appeared, a piece of silver stardust, and 7 silver stars. The light was very faint, and the dust was very small, but they had their own world. Stardust. Silver stardust? Question mark? That kind of deep silver. Looking at this piece of stardust, Tang Mao muttered in his heart, space system? Resisting the surprise in his heart, Tang Mao looked at another stardust. It was transparent. You can see it, because you can clearly feel that there is a stardust outline in the chaos there, but it is almost transparent. If you have to say it has a color, it is the bright moonlight that appears from time to time. Summoning system? After seeing the two new systems clearly, Tang Mao felt so happy. But at the same time, his mental power also took him out of the space. Tang Mao sat up. He was still thinking about when to awaken the new system. But because he had no money, he chose to ignore this matter. What he didn't expect was that he gave up awakening the new system, and when his two systems reached the intermediate level, he awakened himself again. Although there is no such thing as soul seeds for these two systems, whether it is the space system or the summoning system, they are extremely popular. Ha ha ha. At that moment, the excited Tang Mao laughed directly. In the dormitory, the three roommates who were sleeping soundly were all startled after hearing this weird laughter. Yang Yu turned over and looked at Tang Mao, who was grinning foolishly, and said, "Brother, what are you doing in the middle of the night?" "Yes, Boss Tang, this is very scary." "Okay." Li Yuning, who was on the other bed, also muttered sleepily. As for the other roommate, although he also wanted to say a few words, he chose to shut up after considering Tang Mao's habit of fighting when he disagreed with him. They are all Thunder students, and their Thunder rankings are all above 200. Although Tang Mao is ranked last and does not move, others do not know how terrifying he is, but the three of them know it clearly. After all, the three of them have been trained in sheets. The power of Tang Mao's third level thunder magic is much stronger than their intermediate magic. Tang Mao, who was in a good mood, looked at them and laughed and scolded. "What are you two talking about? I have broken through." "Ha ha ha. Fuck. You broke through? Boss, did you say you broke through to the intermediate level?" After hearing what Tang Mao said, the three of them all exclaimed. Tang Mao said in a mean way, "Haha, it's really embarrassing to break through while sleeping. It came too suddenly." The three of them looked contemptuous, but they could only swallow their anger. There is no way. He has a big fist. Born Soul Seed. One thought Star Trek. How can they afford to offend? After all, they are in the same dormitory, and they naturally know a lot about Tang Mao's strength. But it is only the Thunder system. After seeing the three people being surprised, Tang Mao fell asleep again, feeling bored. However, such good news. He naturally wanted to share it with Tang Yu immediately. Without checking the time, Tang Mao got up and left the dormitory. A phone call was made directly. After the call was connected, Tang Yu's angry voice came out without any surprise. "Tang Mao, you don't even check the time when you call?" Tang Mao held the phone far away and only laughed and said after Tang Yu's anger was over, I have good news. Otherwise why would I call you at this time?" Tang Yu said in a coquettish tone, "What's the matter? Tell me quickly. You are disturbing my beauty sleep." Hearing her exciting voice, Tang Mao wanted to find her right now. However, it was impossible in the middle of the night. Holding back the restlessness in her heart, Tang Mao said in a calm voice, "After I reached the intermediate level of dual system, I awakened myself again." Hearing this, Tang Yu said with full sleepiness. Tang Mao was not in a hurry and once again took the phone and put a distance between her ear. Sure enough, after a 3-second pause, Tang Yu's shocked voice suddenly came over. "What? Are you saying that you awakened yourself again? One system or two?" "Of course it's two, moreover, it's one space and one summon." The joy in this speech was not hidden at all. But Tang Yu sighed. "You are really getting better and better." From awakening to cultivation, it took a total of 2 years, and Tang Mao reached the intermediate level of magician in one fell swoop. And after the intermediate level, he even has 4 systems. As for the light wheel system, this has already surpassed a higher level magician. For a while, Tang Yu felt that she seemed to be unworthy of him. Tang Mao listened to the changes in Tang Yu's voice and naturally understood what this charming little woman was thinking. After all, the two of them have known each other for more than a day or two. "At the moment," he said in a serious tone, "you are my future first wife. Don't think about it." If there was no support from Tang Yu, even if it was him, the improvement of 2 systems would definitely not be achieved without 2 years. And because all the money was given to him, Tang Yu is now only a mid-level 2nd level mage. How if it weren't for the words you said about your wife, I would be quite touched. Although Tang Mao's voice was very low and fast when he spoke just now, Tang Yu still heard it clearly. Tang Mao's mouth twitched slightly, and then he changed the subject and said, "When will you come back?" Although he knew that Tang Mao was changing the subject, Tang Yu still responded, "After the end of this summer vacation, I will go back. Then see you in half a year. If you have anything, contact me. Good night." After hanging up Tang Yu's phone, Tang Mao sighed helplessly in his heart. There is still half a year before the disaster in Bo City will break out. He wanted to help, but with his strength, he was still too weak. As for telling them to prevent crisis, why should he? He has never been to Bo City once. P.S. I have a problem with writing books. Without some strength, it is awkward to write anything. The beginner level is really nothing, and there are too many times when I'm lost, so I set up a group. If you have any comments or guidance, please feel free to give me some. Just don't come and like a mute 736 66 29 29. Chapter 13 Challenge Week. The next morning, a new challenge week has arrived. Tang Mao has been here for a year, and it is rare that he has applied for a challenge. This makes Sun Yuan and Kan Kun very happy. After all, apart from the two of them, only Dean Zio knows that there is a genius student in the Thunder Academy. This really wants to show off, but there is no chance to show off. But as long as Tang Mao starts to participate in the challenge, they can promote this student. In this way, when Tang Mao stands up in the future, they will also let people know that they were once Tang Mao's teachers. As for whether Tang Mao can become a remarkable existence, of course, it goes without saying, just for this tyrannical domain Thunder and One Thought Star Trek, he is enough to be on the talent list. Isn't this old son a little too arrogant? He actually wants to challenge Zhenyan, who is ranked 100th. Kai and Kun couldn't help but say in surprise after seeing the person Tang Mao was going to challenge. People who were ranked 100 before should have reached the second level of intermediate magic now, if nothing unexpected happens. What? Sun Yuan was also surprised. Then he took the list and said with a twitch of his mouth, "I thought this guy was a low-key person, but now it seems that this is not the case. A mage who has just reached the intermediate level challenges 100 people at a time. There are not many such people." Looking at the students who arrived one after another, Sun Yuan sighed again. Well, it's good this way. People who are arrogant and proud will always suffer some setbacks. Otherwise, how can he understand that there are people who are better than people and there are heavens beyond heaven? Kai and Kun shrugged. The rule of the academy is that students are free to challenge. As long as they are ranked below the opponent, they can challenge. So even he can't stop it. After people arrived one after another, the venue gradually became lively. Looking at the noisy venue, Sun Yuan shouted, "Be quiet." With his loud shout, no one spoke in an instant. It can be said that in an instant, there was almost no sound in the venue except for the occasional breeze. I already have a list of challenges here. As long as the next challenge is in our regular competition field, it will be considered valid. I believe everyone is clear about the rules. Next, let Teacher Kyan announce the list of today's challenges. Teacher Kyan walked out and took out the challenge list. His eyes swept over the densely packed names of challengers and the names of those being challenged. Then he announced, 280 Wang Lei, challenging 260 Yang Mo. 230 Lei Kwon, challenging 190 Chen Yu. 84 Duan Mubo, challenging 80 Gongsun Mo. 361, Tang Mao, challenging 100 Zhenyan. When Kan Kun finished reading the last person, the entire Thunder Academy was shocked. The last challenger directly selected 100 people. Are you kidding? Damn, our last placed one in the Thunder department is going to challenge? This Tang Mao is so arrogant, he actually wants to challenge Wang Yan. Doesn't he know that the other party is already a double intermediate level? Is this Tang Mao here to attract attention? As Kan Kun finished speaking, the students started to make a fuss in an instant. All kinds of sarcasm and foul language emerged one after another. Tang Mao didn't pay any attention to these people who were complaining, although he hadn't mastered intermediate magic. But with his one-minded Star Trek and Thunderfield, it was almost not difficult to kill in seconds. But Yang Yu and Li Ning, who shared a dormitory with him, didn't think so. They knew Tang Mao's background well. If they took action, what would happen? If he was an intermediate magician, there was no chance to attack at all. Of course, some people with intermediate magic tools might be okay, but there were not many people with magic tools in the Thunder Department Academy. Wang Yan, who ranked 100th, didn't have any power to support him. So, he definitely didn't have any. Moreover, it was already very good to be able to cultivate to this level. Wang Yan, who was challenged, was also furious at the moment. Because, it was as if someone was deliberately humiliating him. The last person to challenge him? How could he not be angry? Quiet! Sun Yuan shouted angrily when everyone started to make a noise. After his shouting, everything became quiet in an instant. At this time, Kan Kun was also ready to announce the challenge of the first group. But at this moment, Wang Yan stood up and looked at Kan Kun and said, "Teacher, I want to apply to be the first to go out. Can I?" He was full of anger at this time and wanted to give this guy who humiliated him a social beating. Kan Kun paused and looked at Sun Yuan. Sun Yuan hesitated for a moment, and at this time, the two people in the first group said that they didn't mind them going first. After Sun Yuan and Kan Kun discussed it, they chose to agree. Kan Kun announced, "Okay, after discussing with Teacher Sun, I agree that you go first. But remember, this is a competition, so stop when you are satisfied." Wang Yan stood up and walked towards the center of the field, and Tang Mao also stood up and walked towards the center of the field. He could understand Wang Yan's anger. As long as the other party fails in the challenge, he will be the last one, and a lot of resources will be lost at once. How can he not be angry? And if he wins, he will also be a little unhappy. It's like being provoked by fish on the chopping board. However, understanding is understanding, and people still have to be more realistic. He will not trouble himself for the benefit of others. Challenging one by one is too slow. After Tang Mao came to the field, many students were dismissive. In their opinion, such a scum is just a jumping clown. Of course, some people are very unhappy. Obviously, they didn't challenge the 100 people, so why did Tang Mao dare to be the last one? Wang Yan, beat him. Let him understand what is high and deep. A close friend of Wang Yan shouted after Tang Mao entered the field. Quiet. Although Sun Yuan also felt it was outrageous, he still shouted angrily. Let everyone keep order. Kan Kun looked at the two and said, "The challenge begins." Wang Yan looked at Tang Mao and said coldly while describing, "Little brother, don't be too." Purple sky. Thunder seal. Rage strike. Boom. However, before Wang Yan finished speaking, Tang Mao directly blasted over with the third level thunder. Purple sky thunder. As the thunder blasted, nearly half of the field was bombarded with thunder from the sky. Boom. After the thunder ended, Wang Yan, who was bombarded by two thunders, was directly knocked unconscious. More than 10 seconds later, Tang Mao stood in the center of the field and looked at Kan Kun and said, "Teacher Kan, aren't you going to announce the result of the challenge yet?" Kan Kun was stunned for a moment, then came back to his senses and hurried to Wang Yan to check. The attack just now was really too fast and the power was really too huge. Although he knew that Tang Mao could think of the star track and that Tang Mao had a domain, he would never have thought that Tang Mao's elementary magic, combined with the domain, would be more powerful than the mid-level magic. After checking Wang Yan and finding that he was only knocked unconscious and not fatally injured, Kan Kun announced, "I declare that the challenger Tang Mao wins." Chapter 14. Silent. With Kan Kun's announcement, the Thunder students in the audience finally came back to their senses. The abuse, ridicule, etc. just now, everyone was dumbfounded at this moment. One thought of Star Trek. If you don't wear advanced K magic tools from the beginning, to face this kind of person, there is almost no victory. Go up and you will be hit. If you can't bear it, you will have to kneel. Even if the opponent's strength is just intermediate, but so what? The power of the other person's primary magic is completely better than the intermediate. Sun Yuan was still thinking about letting Tang Mao know that there are people outside people and there are heavens outside heaven. Moreover, after he failed, how to comfort him had been thought of, but in the end, this special code is simply not one person. Similarly, not only the people after the 100th place were shocked, even the people before the 100th place were also secretly surprised. After all, Tang Mao's age is not yet up to the college entrance examination. Normally speaking, he should be in the 3rd year of high school now, and some of them have been in this college for a year or two. It can be said that, except for Tang Mao's 3 younger brothers in the dormitory, everyone else was in shock. Of course, even the 3 people in his dormitory would never have thought that this would be the case. Tang Mao has reached the point where he would be amazing if he did not make a sound. After the battle, Tang Mao left. After all, he needs to practice 4 systems now, so why waste time here? After everyone was shocked, Tang Mao had already left. Kai and Kun also announced the next challenge, but no one was obviously interested in it. After all, they were really shocked today. At the same time, on the free network platform of the Pearl Academy campus, today's event spread in an instant. For a while, many people on the network platform were inquiring about Tang Mao's information. There were even some people from aristocratic families among them. Without him, if there was no big force to cultivate such a strong man, who would not want to recruit him? Of course, there are many people who eat melons, and there are naturally many comments. Fuck, what is the origin of this new Thunder Department member? Is he so powerful? The end of year college competition. Is the Thunder Department going to rise this year? This little brother is so handsome. Various strange comments are also emerging in an endless stream, but the person involved is currently training stars. There is no time to care about other things. The most important thing is that he is short of money. He urgently needs to improve himself, and only in this way can he have the opportunity to complete the bounty. Because he wants to break through, Tang Mao chose to rent a house outside. After all, retreat requires quietness. Living with a few hairy people, where can he be quiet? Although he is very poor now, he still has money to rent a house. After all, the time for the house he rented before has not yet arrived, and he forced to check out. Although this is a bit dog, he is not really unreasonable. He paid an extra month's rent. The landlord knew that Tang Mao was a mage, and did not want to offend him, so he finally returned the money to him. It is obviously not an easy task to control the 49 stars in an orderly manner, and he has good mental strength, plus the star mark, and his patience is strong in all aspects. So it won't be too troublesome. Of course, it's really not troublesome to say it, but it's really not easy to do it. After the 3rd day, the 8th star successfully returned to its position, and on the 8th day, the 9th star returned to its position. And because Tang Mao showed absolute strength, the new challenge week, no one asked for trouble. After all, although Wang Yan was discharged from the hospital the next day, it took him 3 full days to fully recover. And because of Tang Mao's doing this, people outside the top 100 challenged in various ways, refreshed the rankings. In the end, Wang Yan actually got the 101st ranking. Although he was very unwilling to lose to a junior brother, or a junior brother who didn't know intermediate magic, but so what? He was just asking for trouble by challenging. After all, where is the power of his thunder magic? Can't afford to provoke. And because no one cared, Tang Mao was naturally happy and comfortable, and he didn't continue to challenge, and the resources obtained by the top 100 were enough. The main thing is that he may not be able to benefit from going up. If he wants to get the opportunity to practice in the 3-step tower, he needs to be in the top 20. The top 20 seniors are almost all at level 3 in thunder magic, right? Moreover, they are all from various families, so they naturally have no shortage of magic tools. Therefore, Tang Mao naturally didn't bother to challenge. Enjoying the resources, in addition to improving the power of other systems, he just controlled the stars. Hard work pays off. On the 60th day, the 49th star successfully returned to its position. Except for the initial collapse, everything happened naturally later. Of course, in these 2 months, he naturally didn't only practice thunder. The space system also successfully reached level 3. The reason why it was so fast was because his mental power was extraordinary. As for the level of mental power, he didn't know, but it should be very arrogant. The summoning system can already summon contracted pets, but he hasn't had time to summon them yet. As for the ice system, it has only reached more than 30. After all, even if you are a genius, you can't break through 4 systems at the same time. However, since the intermediate magic of the Thunder system can be released, he will naturally not miss the new challenge week. Although he has only learned the intermediate level 1 thunder magic, with the bonus of the field, etc., it is not weaker than the power of some ordinary spirit species level 3 intermediate magic. Back to the academy again. It is already hot in summer, but summer naturally has its advantages. Looking at the girl's white jade-like long legs, white flowers appear in front of her. Although she is wearing a school uniform, because she is a magician, their looks are not bad. Such a beautiful scenery really makes people feel a little moved. While admiring the beautiful scenery, he walked towards the Thunder Academy without changing his face. In fact, Tang Mao was also puzzled, because although there are girls in the Thunder Academy, there is no goddess level existence at all. However, his presence does not seem to be great. In 2 months, he came several times to collect resources. But no matter that time, he did not get the fascination of the girls of the Thunder Department. It must be said, that appearance alone is not enough. Although his strength is not bad, he still did not get the attention of those girls from aristocratic families. Of course, 2 months ago, he received invitations from some forces, but it can be seen that no matter which force, they are not very enthusiastic. All forces, you are not in the academy, what is the use of enthusiasm? Chapter 15 I want to challenge the first place. After arriving at the Thunder Department, Tang Mao went to find the 2 teachers first. After all, if they hadn't shown up, it would be time to get resources. They were not punished, so these 2 teachers were pretty good. When Tang Mao walked into their office, he saw that they were all there, so he didn't hesitate and said directly, Teacher Sun Yuan, Teacher Kan Kun, I'm here to participate in the new challenge tomorrow. Hearing this, the 2 put down their work at the same time and looked up. When they saw that it was Tang Mao, Sun Yuan said with an unhappy face, you bastard, are you treating the academy as a resource supply place? Although Kan Kun didn't say anything, it can be seen that he was a little resentful. Tang Mao was also in the wrong, and smiled awkwardly and said, that's okay, teacher. I haven't been in seclusion for a while. Calm down, calm down. Under your wise guidance, the student has broken through to the intermediate level 1. Now I can release the intermediate level 1 thunder magic. Although the 2 didn't teach anything, they still had to stay in this academy. Naturally, they had to say something good. Regardless of whether it was Sun Yuan or Kan Kun, they were obviously quite satisfied after hearing this. Although the 2 of them didn't have much guidance, they just liked this false reputation seeing that Tang Mao was so sensible. The 2 of them didn't blame him for anything. Kan Kun asked curiously, boy, how many places are you going to challenge this time? Tang Mao smiled and said, of course it's the top 20. I need the opportunity to enter the 3-step tower. I'm counting on it to continue to break through. Kan Kun hesitated and then said, Tang Mao, didn't you read the school rules carefully? Huh? Tang Mao looked at Kan Kun with some doubts and asked puzzledly, what are the rules for this? The opportunity to practice in the 3-step tower is only available to the fire department before the 20th place. As for other departments, the top 3 in the Thunder Department have this opportunity. Kan Kun shrugged and responded, fuck. After hearing what Kan Kun said, Tang Mao immediately said a fragrant word. Teacher Kan, you are not kidding, are you? Kan Kun shook his head, and he didn't look like he was joking at all. And, he added, as for black magic, white magic and dimensional magic, none of them have this opportunity. Moreover, they are all minor courses. Water, light, rock, plant and wine still have no chance. The strongest combat power, below the super level, is thunder, fire, and ice. Thunder is rare, so there are not many people, and naturally there will not be many places to enter the 3-step tower. As for ice, only the first one can get the qualification to practice for 1 day. Fire is the second most powerful element and very common, so it is naturally different. After listening to Kan Kun's explanation, Tang Mao suddenly felt unwell. This Mingsu Academy was simply set up for Mo Fan. He was still worried before. If several departments had this opportunity, would the 3-step tower be able to accommodate them? Of course, it was also because Uncle Luan didn't introduce it at the beginning. Anyway, it's not the author's fault. Tang Mao was silent for a moment before he said, "How many days can the top 3 in the thunder element get?" Sun Yuan said at this time, "The first place gets 5 days. The second place gets 3 days. And the third place gets 1 day." Tang Mao hesitated for a while before saying, "In that case, this time, I'll challenge the first place." He originally wanted to be low-key and hide some of his strength. But since it will be exposed sooner or later, why hide it? Now the most important thing is to improve his strength. Although he only has one element that can release intermediate magic, he has 3 other elements to use. Moreover, it is not impossible to try the thunder and ice dual domain. Moreover, he also wants to know how powerful he is now. The moment Tang Mao finished speaking, Sun Yuan and Kan Kun were both stunned. Last time, this kid challenged the top 100 directly. This time, he wants to challenge the first place directly? So it's not okay to take it slow? Kan Kun couldn't help but persuade him. "I know you can track the stars with one thought, and I also know that your magic is very lethal. However, you should also know that your talent has been discovered, and it is not very useful in the academy at present. The first place Aoyang Yuan is from the Aoyang family who focuses on the thunder system. Although they are not very powerful in China, they are also relatively prestigious in the magic city. Moreover, Aoyang Yuan not only majored in the thunder system and reached the intermediate level 3, but also the rock system, which is a minor, has reached the intermediate level 3. It can be said that this Aoyang Yuan is about to graduate. There is no need to challenge him. After all, he is about to be promoted to a senior mage." Tang Mao nodded and then said, "Well, I know, it's him. His thunder field can reduce the damage of the same system. And what is the power of the intermediate earth system? He doesn't have to be afraid at all. He will definitely get the first place. After all, 5 days of 3-step tower training can save a lot of resources." Kan Kun's mouth twitched slightly and said, "You kid, do you understand what I said? No one has a spirit seed." Tang Mao still nodded indifferently, with a slight smile on his face. "Teacher, I understand. This time, I will show you all my strength." He has reached the intermediate level, and he already has a certain ability to protect himself. Moreover, didn't Mo Fan also expose his natural dual system at the intermediate level? As long as he enters the 3-step tower, it would be a matter of minutes to break through. At most, he was targeted by that lunatic named Lunan. However, he didn't mean to refuse the demon system at all. With his 4 systems and powerful mental power, he is no worse than Mo Fan. How can he not control it? At most, he will have to be a wild man for a while and fight in the wild. As for the fact that some big forces will kill people, to silence them just in case, it doesn't exist at all. After all, he has connections behind him, that is, the Judgment Council. With a future wife, what's the point of panic? And he has no connection with other families. In this case, who would touch him? And the Black Church. They are now busy doing experiments, waiting for the ancient capital's god-conferring conference. Because of this, he needs to become even stronger. Because he must intervene in the disaster of the ancient capital. Otherwise this is a pass that can get the green light. With this pass, he can just step on those who pretend to be arrogant. He has been keeping a low profile for 18 years. If he continues like this, it will be too embarrassing for his talent. Sun Yuan and Kan Kun were both stunned. They didn't understand what this meant. However, Tang Mao insisted so much, they couldn't say anything more. After all, some things should be stopped at the right time. Chapter 16 Dimensional Summoning. Alas, Kan Kun sighed slightly. He had no way to deal with this young man who was ignorant of the world. Besides, he couldn't refuse the challenge from the students, right? Besides, Aoyang Yuan, the first place, hadn't been challenged for a long time. Okay, I'll arrange it. After getting the confirmation, Tang Mao left. After knowing the other party's background, Tang Mao was ready to summon a summon pet first. Originally, he was going to wait until the end of the challenge, but now the plan has been disrupted. In this case, he can only do it in advance. After returning to a quiet place in the backyard of the teaching building, Tang Mao closed his eyes and began to slowly connect the summoning stars. Auxiliary props, such a luxury, are obviously not something he can have. The summoning stardust is transparent, and occasionally there will be moonlight flowing. When Tangmao arranges the internal stars in an orderly manner, the moonlight will be more obvious, and the star track formed by the 7 stars will also be like a shallow crescent. The star track appears, accompanying Tangmao's body. They are like a line of moonlight, slowly tearing a crack leading to another plane in the normal space. Tangmao's eyes are open, his pupils are deep and vast, his body is standing behind this quiet teaching building, but his soul seems to have traveled to all directions, and arrived at another mysterious plane. The black track, the moonlight dimension door. Tangmao is like a dark and narrow cave that suddenly crashes into a bright and clear paradise, and a new continent appears in front of him. With a thought, Tangmao can feel himself flying across the dreamlike land at a high speed. Those creatures that are already running very fast on the land are instantly thrown behind him and thrown to the place where the horizon cannot be seen. After wandering for a while, Tangmao encountered several monsters such as eagles, hounds, wolves, and snakes. However, he felt that he could turn around again. After encountering some small animals one after another, he still did not encounter any existence that satisfied him. Just when he felt that his magic was almost consumed by half and was ready to go back to collect the wolf, he heard a tiger roar in the distance. After hearing the tiger roar, Tangmao went straight to the sound. Then, he saw a huge white tiger roaring continuously. The moment the white tiger saw Tangmao, it ignored him. Just as it was about to turn around and leave, Tangmao jumped up and blocked it. The white tiger was displeased, and then a tiger roar came out. The strength of this white tiger seemed to have reached the level of a general. It was really rare to encounter a general level pet for the first time summoning. Absolute zero. Looking at the white tiger's full disdain, Tangmao released his powerful cold air. Of course, there was nothing here, but in reality, a thick layer of ice had formed around him. That is, there was no one nearby, otherwise, this would have caused quite a stir. Dual system soul species, this is definitely rare in a century, and in the dimensional space. After the white tiger felt the ice attribute aura emanating from Tangmao, it was slightly stunned. Obviously, it did not expect that the other party, a magician who had just reached the middle level, would have such a powerful ice power. After another tiger roar, the previous disdain had completely dissipated, and it even nestled beside Tangmao obediently, as if with a hint of flattery. At that moment, Tangmao turned his spiritual imprint into a soft light, and then sprinkled it on the white tiger. And at that moment, the spiritual imprint appeared on the forehead of the white tiger. When the last link of the call was completed, Tangmao's consciousness quickly left the half-real and half-virtual continent, and returned to his backyard. Just like before, no one came here. The power of the domain was withdrawn, and the wandering of consciousness seemed to have experienced a journey, but the real time did not pass too long, and the moon-colored star track did not disappear early like other elemental systems. It was a space crack that tore apart 2 planes. The white tiger with Tangmao's spiritual imprint vigilantly and curiously poked out its silver white and ferocious tiger head from it. When it saw Tangmao, it seemed to be relieved. It walked straight out of the moon-white star track crack and came to Tangmao's side, its black pupils scanning the surroundings. Finally, it looked at Tangmao again, rolled over and started to act like a house cat in front of Tangmao. Tangmao looked at the white tiger with disdain and said contemptuously, "You are a general level summoned beast, and you are acting like a spoiled child?" Roar, the white tiger roared a few times, without any shame. "Okay, from now on, you will be called Xiaobei. Follow daddy, and becoming a future monarch is not a dream." Tangmao has established a contract with it, so the white tiger can naturally understand what Tangmao said. It didn't seem to question what Tangmao said at all. It even stretched out its huge head to rub Tangmao's face in a flattering way. Tangmao let it stay for a while, and then let it go back. After all, there was no fight today. With the general level Xiaobei, it seemed that all the exposed problems disappeared instantly. Does this still need to be exposed? However, the white tiger seemed to have sensed his thoughts, and regretfully told him that when they reached the contract, its strength was compressed. Now it can only exert the fighting power of a slave, and only when Tangmao advances to the intermediate summoning system can it recover its strength. The excitement just now dissipated in an instant. Isn't this a bit of a scam? It is obviously a war general level tiger, but it can only exert the power of a slave level. However, no matter what, at least this guy has saved himself a lot of expenses. When summoning at the intermediate level, he at least doesn't need to spend money to buy items for promotion. After summoning a good little brother, Tang Mao went back to the dormitory. He consumed a lot today. Now he urgently needs to rest. After all, he still needs to fight tomorrow. When Tang Mao returned to the dormitory he had not seen for a long time, the three roommates were obviously stunned. Speaking of which, they haven't seen Tang Mao for 2 months. Yang Yu smiled and asked, "Boss, where have you been for the past 2 months?" Leaning into another roommate, Wang Shan, also looked at Tang Mao. Tang Mao said seriously, "Nightclubs, bars, KTVs, is there any need to think about it? Young people need fun in their lives, and for me, this is the best fun. P.S. The contract has been sent." Chapter 17, A Packed Audience. Tang Mao just said it casually, but the three believed it immediately. Moreover, they looked at Tang Mao with envy. Tang Mao shrugged and said, "Why are you looking at me like that? You are also Thunder Mages after all. If you just flirt with ordinary girls, wouldn't it be a home run?" Leaning collapsed on the bed helplessly and said with emotion, "When I broke through the intermediate level, you were still a beginner mage, but you are already intermediate, and I haven't released my first level magic yet. In this case, there is no time to pick up girls. Besides, who doesn't have an idea? Wouldn't it be nice to find a pretty magician sister?" After Leaning finished speaking, Yang Yu and Wang Shan nodded at the same time. With their rights as Thunder Mages, it is natural that magician girls are given priority when looking for a partner. Especially those girls in the Fire Academy, they are the best choice. "Good idea, then you continue to masturbate," Tang Mao said meanly. However, he forgot that he had made an appointment with the Five Fingers girl when he was itching to have sex occasionally. In fact, with his talent and strength, once it is revealed, not to mention some ordinary girls, even the daughter of the world's genius, there will definitely be someone willing to send him. But, not to mention Tang Yu, as for himself, who is willing to live under someone else's roof. If he doesn't have this talent, it's fine. Obviously, he has extraordinary talent. In this case, why would he be willing to be a dog? And the tyranny of talent and strength also improved his vision a lot. If you can't hook up, just take a few more glances. If you look, naturally choose the most beautiful one. If there is a chance encounter, to relieve the pain of love sickness, or to borrow seeds, he will definitely not refuse. After all, this kind of helping others is what he likes the most. The three were ridiculed, although they were helpless, but what can they do? At this time, Yang Yu asked curiously, "Boss, you came back today, not for tomorrow's challenge, right?" Tang Mao responded, "Yes, otherwise I would have no time to come back." Hearing this, the three of them instantly became interested. After all, Tang Mao showed his skills last time. The opponent he challenged this time must not be simple. Leaning asked, Boss, who are you going to challenge this time?" "I think the opponent you challenge this time must be in the top 50. Yang Yu felt that Tang Mao's first challenge was to challenge the last 100 directly, so this challenge must not be as simple as jumping a few places, otherwise, Tang Mao would have to stay calm for so long. The two agreed with what Yang Yu said. However, they still looked at Tang Mao at the same time. "I haven't participated in the challenge for 2 months. It would be too boring. If the opponent is too weak, you will know tomorrow, so go to bed early." Tang Mao did not say that he was going to challenge the first place, otherwise, wouldn't these three scumbags be shocked all night? Seeing that Tang Mao was not interested in talking anymore, the three of them just thought that Tang Mao might be even crazier than they guessed. However, what's the use of guessing about this kind of thing? When tomorrow starts, everything will be known. But this feeling of half knowledge is really uncomfortable. The next day, the scorching sun rose in the east, and as soon as I went out, I felt the bad weather. It was early in the morning, but people were already sweating. However, even so, there were still many people in the Lei Academy, and even some students from other departments came here. There was no other reason. In the early morning, Mingsu Academy's own network platform announced that someone wanted to challenge the top of the challenge today. If it were normal, students and teachers from other departments would naturally not be interested in watching the ceremony. But this kind of battle against the top of the list is different. Setting up a challenge, the first person must be extraordinary. Especially the top of the lay department has been for 2 years. How can this challenge not attract attention? Seeing that the auditorium, which was not usually crowded, was already full of people today, Tang Mao's mouth twitched slightly and asked, "What's going on?" Tang Mao's inquiry did not receive a response. Instead, Yang Yu looked at the news released on his mobile phone and said in shock, "Boss, you are actually going to challenge Yang Yuan? Fuck." With Yang Yu's exclamation, the other two also opened their mobile phones. This look really shocked them. Although they knew that the person Tang Mao was going to challenge was definitely in the top 50. Well, the first one was also in the top 50, but according to the three of them, Tang Mao would only challenge about 20 at most, right? But who would have thought that he would challenge the first one? Question mark? The top of the Thunder ranking list? Question mark? And it was a disciple of the famous Thunder family, Yang family. They really didn't dare to imagine this. Even some disciples of the family who wanted to show off were shocked at this moment. That's why so many people came here to watch the ceremony. Tang Mao shrugged his shoulders. After knowing what was going on, he didn't think it was a big deal. Then he walked to an audience seat and sat down quietly. After them, many students from other departments of Mingsu Academy continued to arrive. Even some teachers came. Kyan Kun looked at the scene and said to Sun Yuan beside him, "Isn't this a bit exaggerated? I didn't expect so many people to come." Sun Yuan was also embarrassed. Too many spectators is not a good thing. After all, no matter who loses, it will cause a big shock. Of course, Sun Yuan and Kyan Kun just think that Tang Mao will lose. Losing in front of so many people is a big blow. They are really afraid that Tang Mao will not be able to accept this reality. As for winning, how can a first level intermediate mage beat a third level intermediate dual element mage? The two know that Yang Yuan also has a Thunder Spirit Seed. It is the famous Burning Thunder Spirit Seed. This is considered the top existence among spirit seeds. Besides the Thunder system, his Rock system defense is also at the intermediate level 3. As long as Yang Yuan is not arrogant and puts on the intermediate K magic tool to take Tang Mao's first attack, then the outcome is almost beyond imagination. After a moment of silence, Kyan Kun said with emotion, "Oh, forget it, forget it. After this game, you and I will comfort him more. As long as he can accept this failure, I believe he will be able to go further in the future. That's the only way." Although Sun Yuan seems to be simple-minded and strong-limbed, but his heart is also unusually clear. Anyway, in a nutshell, the two of them are not optimistic about Tang Mao and don't think he will win at all. And he will definitely lose. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 18. When did you become blind? As the crowd gathered, Kyan Kun announced the list of today's challengers. The battle between Tang Mao and Yang Yuan was the finale. Looking at the audiences who came one after another, the venue of the Thunder Academy seemed to be unable to accommodate them. Although Kyan Kun and Sun Yuan wanted Tang Mao and Yang Yuan to start the battle now, they would end it earlier. But Dean Zhao was here, and they were the ones who released the news. This would offend many people. In the end, there was nothing to say, except to leave it to fate. On the other side, on the campus of Mingsu Academy, there were still many people who rushed to the Thunder Academy after hearing the news, and many people were even discussing it. There were also many people who stopped on the road, looking stupidly at the two girls who walked into the academy, with an obsessed look. One of them was wearing a flowery dress, looking proud of the crowd. Her appearance was not top-notch, but it was also of the upper class. The other one, wearing a black v-neck dress, had a stunningly beautiful face and a charming figure, attracting the attention of all the opposite sex present. System U, this Mingsu Academy is pretty good. Look at how many handsome guys there are. The girl with the big white rabbit said with a smile as she jumped and looked around. Munajiro, who followed her, reached out to hold her helplessly, feeling a little embarrassed, and said lightly, "AI Tutu, can't you be more reserved?" AI Tutu smiled, and then said, "Handsome young men are full of love when they see you. But when they see me, they are serious, just a bunch of perverts. So, you can be reserved, but I can't. Otherwise, I won't be able to find a good husband in the future." Munugio was very upset, and then said, "Okay, we have also been to Mingsu Academy. Why are you in a hurry? The college entrance examination is about to start. After the college entrance examination, we will be one of them." AI Tutu admired the handsome young men, and had no intention of leaving in a hurry. Munugio regretted a little, and agreed to come here with her. This is really embarrassing. And when AI Tutu saw the crowd pouring into that place, he was a little curious. Then he found a bespectacled man and asked, "Handsome boy, is there any special program in your school today? Why are so many people going there?" When AI Tutu came over, the bespectacled man had a lot of white rabbits jumping around in his head. He answered in a daze, "There is a challenge competition at Liyuan today, and the person ranked 100 is challenging the first place." After AI Tutu got what he wanted to know, he turned around and left. After the white rabbit left, the bespectacled man realized that he didn't even ask a name. AI Tutu came to Munugio and told her about it. Then he took Munugio to Liyuan. She was naturally not enthusiastic about the competition, mainly because she heard that there were many people. Doesn't that mean that there are many handsome guys here for her to choose? In this case, how could she not be interested? Munugio was interested in this battle. How could she not be curious about a first level intermediate mage challenging the first place in the double system perfection? This is why she was pulled here by AI Tutu. After the two arrived at the Liyuan, they saw that there were already more than 1,000 people here. Moreover, it seemed that many people still came here after them. After AI Tutu looked around and found a seat, he ran over with Munugio. "Hey, handsome guy, has the challenge for the first place started?" Seeing that someone was already fighting below, AI Tutu asked in confusion. Hearing this, the man looked back and was stunned for 3 seconds. AI Tutu was used to it. After all, this was her innate advantage. Not yet, at least it will start in an hour. After Tangmao looked at Dabe for a moment, she looked at the woman next to her. But she just glanced and continued to watch the challenge below. After AI Tutu got a response, when he was about to ask something, he saw that Tangmao had turned his head to look at the stadium. Unconsciously, she looked at Munugio and whispered, Sister Mu is not interested in the two of us." Munugio paused, glanced at Tangmao, and when she saw that the other party had no intention of looking over, she patted her and said, "Just watch the challenge." AI Tutu felt a little bored, and then moved closer to Tangmao, and even bumped Tangmao inadvertently. Tangmao turned around and said, "If you bump into someone, I will pull out my gun." AI Tutu naturally didn't mean it. After all, she wasn't so slutty yet. She just moved too much. After hearing Tangmao's dirty talk, her face blushed and she said, "Bah, pervert, I didn't mean it." After that, AI Tutu hurriedly moved back. It must be said that the reason for this is that the clothes are also the culprit. Munugio looked at AI Tutu blushing and retreating to her side, and asked curiously, "What's wrong?" "No, nothing." AI Tutu was almost dying of shyness at this time, and there was no way to say it. Munugio didn't ask anything, but just glanced at Tangmao again. But seeing that she was staring at the center of the field, she thought that AI Tutu was just a little bit nervous. AI Tutu's shyness lasted only a moment, and then she started chatting with Tangmao again, and as for what happened just now, she just turned the page. Seeing that she loved to chat so much, and even revealed her family background, Tangmao also chatted with her. To be honest, he didn't expect that he would meet AI Tutu and Munugio before the college entrance examination was over, and before the recruitment of new students. After AI Tutu and Tangmao chatted for a while, he said, "Do you have any single handsome guys in your lay department academy? Can you introduce some to me?" Tangmao was a little dissatisfied and said, "When did you go blind?" AI Tutu pouted and snorted, "I just asked you to introduce me to some handsome guys. Why are you scolding me?" The most handsome man in the entire Mingsu Academy is standing in front of you, and you are still talking to me about handsome guys? After Tang Mao finished speaking, AI Tutu was stunned this time, and then she laughed a little angrily. This is the first time she has met such a narcissistic person. Tang Mao is tall and big, with average looks, but in her eyes, handsome guys are almost irrelevant to him. She can talk nonsense with him for a long time, just because he is more interesting. Why are you so narcissistic? Tang Mao turned his head and looked at the field and said without looking back, I don't like chatting with blind girls. I want to chat with them for a day. Chapter 19. The brain is a good thing. AI Tutu paused after hearing what he said, and after reacting, he said angrily, how can you be so vulgar? Hey, seeing that Tang Mao really ignored her, AI Tutu was a little angry. However, if you want people to talk, you can't really take a shot for nothing and continue to chat with him, right? AI Tutu was a little unhappy and wanted to sit somewhere else, but unfortunately, there were already a sea of people around, nearly 2,000 students. AI Tutu looked at Munigio in confusion and said, System U, it's just a challenge, why are there so many people? She originally wanted to ask Tang Mao, but when she thought of what the gangster just said, she had to choose to ask Munigio. Munigio naturally didn't know. After all, she was not a student here. At this time, a man in front of Munigio handed over his mobile phone with a flattering face and said, this is because the challenger is not ordinary. It seems that he has never seen such a top-notch person, or he has never flirted with a girl. When he spoke, he was still a little stuttering. Munigio didn't accept it at first, but AI Tutu took it and thanked her. Then he understood it. Munigio also smiled and thanked her. After hearing Munigio speak, this guy felt so happy that his heart was crooked. Unfortunately, Munigio just thanked him politely and looked at AI Tutu. He didn't pay attention to his interest. No wonder there are so many people. The guy who topped the challenge list was born with a one-thought star track. Moreover, he is a natural thunder soul and has his own domain. AI Tutu told the information about Tang Mao's investigation and introduced Yang Yuan's affairs. After listening to it, Munigio sneered in her heart. If she was curious before, then there is nothing strange about it now. Because such a movement is naturally hyped up by others, and this person is no other than Yang Yuan. He wants to prove his strength and recruit a wave for the family before leaving. This kind of thing is done by almost all children of aristocratic families. However, he was ranked first in the Thunder system and had not been challenged for 2 years, so he was a little forgotten. It was rare for someone to come and give him food. How could he not cherish it? Although Tang Mao's natural talent was amazing, the difference in level was a flaw after all. AI Tutu looked at the photo of Tang Mao above and was stunned for a while, wondering why he seemed to have seen this person somewhere. Feeling a little puzzled, AI Tutu looked at Munigio who was distracted and said, System U, have we seen this guy somewhere? Although Tang Mao didn't look at her, it didn't mean that he was deaf. He was really convinced. AI Tutu flirted with him for a long time, but in the end, he didn't know that the person was next to him when he looked at the photo. Question mark? Tang Mao's true expression at this moment, fuck. Munigio looked at the young man in the photo, stunned for a few seconds, and looked in the direction of Tang Mao. AI Tutu saw Munigio looking at her, and looked back curiously. At the same time, Tang Mao just stood up. You rascal, are you the one who challenged Tang Mao? AI Tutu looked at Tang Mao with a shocked expression and exclaimed. Tang Mao's mouth twitched slightly when he heard it, and then he retorted, don't just think about breast enlargement in the future, the brain is also a good thing. After saying that, he walked out from in front of the two women and went to the place in the field. After all, it was his turn to compete next. After AI Tutu came back to his senses, he grinned for a while, but fortunately Munigio stopped her. Otherwise, she should have fought with Tang Mao by now. When Tang Mao came on the field, the stern-looking Yang Yuan was already here. Yang Yuan did not have the same angry expression as Wang Yan. Instead, he looked at Tang Mao calmly and said, you are very courageous. I admire you very much. For this reason, I will show mercy. Really? Tang Mao smiled and then said, since you admire me so much, why don't you just admit defeat? In this way, we can still be friends. Hearing this, Bao Yang Yuan was stunned. In the audience, all the students who came to watch the game were also stunned. Even Dean Zio and several teachers were the same. Obviously, no one expected that Tang Mao would make this request. Haha. Bao Yang Yuan sneered and said, this is a good joke. It seems that you are not going to admit defeat. Tang Mao shrugged, as if he still wanted to discuss. Bao Yang Yuan looked directly at Kan Kun and said in a low voice, Teacher Kan Kun, can we start? Kan Kun nodded and then said loudly, the last game of the challenge begins now. Both sides please stop when you are done. Just as Kan Kun was shouting, Bao Yang Yuan had already summoned the mid-level armor magic tools. Tang Mao also used mid-level magic at the same time. Purple Sky, Thunderbolt, Blast. Tang Mao chanted in a low voice and pointed his hand to the sky. Pointing at the sky, a deep purple thunderbolt split the space in half without any warning. The sturdy purple body let out a sharp cry and swiftly blasted directly towards Bao Yang Yuan who was standing there. Purple Sky Domain. Boom boom. Tang Mao didn't like to waste time, and as always, he zoomed in directly when he came up. It would be perfect to take them away in one wave. The deep purple thunderbolt came extremely quickly, which was a real bolt from the blue. When the thunderbolt hit, the already pitted ground around Bao Yang Yuan suddenly sank and shattered. At the moment, when Bao Yang Yuan was standing under the thunderbolt, he blocked it with his arms. With the help of the armor magic tool, he offset it. Bang! After a huge explosion, a deep pit appeared where Bao Yang Yuan was. However, his magic tool seemed to have worked, and he managed to withstand the thunderbolt. Although he was shocked by the power of the attack, Bao Yang Yuan remained calm on the surface and said, Humph, what about natural talent? The level difference and magic tool protection, you can't hurt me. Tang Mao's mouth corners slightly raised, and he didn't mean to pay attention to him at all. The surrounding thunder field continued. Purple Sky, Thunder Seal, Rage Strike. Then he blasted out another thunderbolt, and Bao Yang Yuan was also shocked. However, at the same time, he also completed the rock magic. Stone Crusher, Rock Barrier, Mountain Screen. He was not stupid, and he knew that Tang Mao would not give up after one blow. However, if you want to output, you must first prepare for defense. Telekinesis, Virtual Grab. Tang Mao looked at Bao Yang Yuan who was hiding behind him, and grasped the void. An invisible hand instantly lifted Bao Yang Yuan, who was about to counterattack, from the ground. It seemed to be easier than twisting a chicken, and the drawing he just made was instantly shattered, and then the thunder poured directly into his body. Boom. Chapter 20 Victory. After a thunderous explosion, cracks appeared on Bao Yang Yuan's armor. However, because of the armor, Bao Yang Yuan was still not seriously injured. Bang. Looking at Bao Yang Yuan fall into the ground, Tang Mao couldn't help but despise him. Sure enough, RMB players are nicer. Ahem. Boy, you are really strong. But it's my turn next. Bao Yang Yuan looked at the broken armor on his body and felt a pain. Moreover, he really didn't expect that the opponent actually had a space system. No wonder he dared to challenge him. At this moment, his previous thoughts had completely dissipated. Scorching Thunder, Thunderbolt, Wild Dance. The lightning star map was formed under his feet, and the extremely violent lightning power had already condensed above Tang Mao's head. The huge thunder cloud was suspended, and the electric light like a python flashed and rolled in the cloud. As Bao Yang Yuan pointed, the purple-red lightning broke through the space and hit Tang Mao on the ground fiercely. Boom. Purple Sky Domain. Dimensional Summoning. At the moment, when the thunder fell, Tang Mao summoned Xiaobei directly. Xiaobei was quite happy to come out, but after seeing the thunder, he was instantly stunned. Question mark question mark question mark. Was this special code called out to resist? The thunderbolts hit and the area was thundering. Looking at the smoke and dust there, Bao Yang Yuan was stunned, a little confused. Why didn't the two teachers help? You know, with his current strength, against a junior middle-level mage, a full-strength attack is likely to kill the opponent directly. Bao Yang Yuan just wants to win, but he doesn't want to kill. Although this is an accident, the people of the Hangzhou trial will not care about these. Although Tang Mao is not a member of the trial, He has also inquired about some information. This guy has an extraordinary relationship with them. Kyan Kun and Sun Yuan were just preparing to rescue, but at the moment they were about to take action, they were stopped by Dean Zio, because Dean Zio noticed other magical powers. Everyone in the audience was completely shocked. For Tang Mao, the word genius was no longer worthy of description. He could only be described as a demon. After all, a first level intermediate level master beat Yang Yuan, who was a perfect intermediate level master of both systems, and his armor and magic tools were almost broken. But, this sudden reversal? It was a bit hard to adapt. Even if the opponent didn't die from this attack, he would be half crippled, right? Just when everyone was confused, a tiger roar came out in the dust. What is that? A white tiger of the general level? Isn't he a thunder type or space type? When everyone saw the huge white tiger appear, they were stunned. At this time, Kyan Kun and Sun Yuan beside Dean Zio were both stunned. How can this kid have 3 systems? Didn't he just get promoted to a mid-level mage? Dean Zio shook his head in response to the two people's questions, and then said, I don't know either, but this kid is really shocking. Moreover, the strength of the white tiger seems to be suppressed, that is to say, his summoning system is at the elementary level, while the summoned white tiger is at the intermediate level. Just when everyone was shocked, Tang Mao in the field looked at Xiaobei and said, go back, I will heal you later. After this game, I will first improve the summoning system to restore your strength. Although Xiaobei felt that he was cheated, he really had no fighting power at this time. The dimensional door opened, and it left here. Tang Mao was not hurt at all after this powerful blow. And the slave level white tiger, if it received the full strength attack just now, it would naturally not be able to withstand it. However, within his domain, the opponent's thunder power was reduced by nearly half. In addition, the white tiger was originally a general level monster, so it naturally stood firm. How can you have 3 systems? Yang Yuan looked at Tang Mao in shock. 3 systems? Tang Mao's mouth corners slightly raised, and sneered, sorry, you guessed wrong. And your performance is over. As his voice fell, the thunder in the surrounding space dissipated. Then the ground suddenly formed a thick layer of ice. 0 degree. Ice vines. Cover. As Tang Mao finished speaking, a force of ice directly imprisoned Yang Yuan's body. Then, the space magic pushed, and hit Yang Yuan's body heavily. Bang. With a palm falling, Yang Yuan was directly knocked back several meters. Although he was protected by armor magic, this attack mixed with space, but he was seriously injured. However, Yang Yuan would naturally not lose like this. After all, he was a man who had guarded the championship throne of Liyuan for 2 years. How could he lose so easily? Damn it. After Yang Yuan roared, he pointed to the sky. Scorching thunder. Thunderbolt. Boom. The moment the thunder struck, thick layers of ice walls emerged above Tang Mao. Although his ice system has not reached the level of being able to release intermediate magic, his proficiency is better than that of a system. Boom boom clatter, thunder continued to break through the ice, but this layer of ice could not make a hole. Moreover, every time it was about to break through, it would thicken again. Until the opponent's thunder was completely blocked, the ice still did not disperse. Scorching thunder. Thunderbolt. Yaksha. Yang Yuan had just completed the intermediate second level thunder magic when Tang Mao was resisting. Although this was a group attack, the thunder was everywhere below, and the power was not weaker than the single output. Tang Mao was tightly wrapped in the ice all around him. After the thunder fell, the thick ice was constantly shattered and reorganized. Shattered and reorganized. It seems that it was just a little bit short after all. Boom boom. After exhausting the opponent's thunder again, Tang Mao's ice magic was completely exhausted. However, Yang Yuan had no chance to resist, because his thunder magic had cooled down enough. He just collected the purple sky domain just to save magic energy. Otherwise, how could he win with one strike? Purple sky. Thunderbolt. Boom. The familiar deep purple thunder rushed down with destructive force. Yang Yuan used rock magic to resist, but in the purple sky domain, what was his mortal earth? Boom. The rock barrier was directly shattered, and the next moment the thunder was all over his body. After a crackling, the armor magic tool collapsed and shattered in an instant. Tang Mao glanced at Aang Yuan and said in a calm voice, "Do you choose to admit defeat, or do you want me to add another thunder?" At this moment, Aang Yuan had not lost his mind, but the thunder made his body numb. If there is another thunderbolt, he will probably be crippled if not dead. I give up. P.S. I have a draft saved, so I'll post it anyway. Chapter 21 Shock. After Aang Yuan admitted defeat, Tang Mao withdrew the thunder in his hand. The people present, especially those from the Thunder Academy, were completely stunned. A student who had just arrived not long ago, even normally he should be in high school preparing for the college entrance examination. But, the little brother who should be taking the college entrance examination, directly rushed into the main campus. Moreover, with the realm of a primary magician, he directly defeated our Aang Yuan, the top genius of the Thunder Academy. Question mark? If it wasn't seen with one's own eyes, I'm afraid no one would believe it. After all, this is too fake. But at the same time, it is also true. 4 systems, 2 of which are natural souls. 1 thought Star Trek. Natural dual system. At this moment, many people felt that God was unfair. At this moment, Dean Zhao, Kan Kun and Sun Yuan were so excited that they almost jumped up. Especially Sun Yuan and Kan Kun, with Tang Mao's abnormal talent, he must have a place in this year's school competition. And as long as he can achieve some outstanding results by then the reward they get will definitely be a lifetime struggle. Dean Zhao was even more excited. A perverted monster came out of Mingsu Academy. In the future, their academy will surpass any academy in China. Even the imperial capital can't compare to it. Moreover, I'm afraid that by then, in the whole world, Mingsu Academy will be nominated. At this time, AI Tutu, who had just scolded Tang Mao, looked at Tang Mao with shining eyes, and then said, "System U, this is a great existence. After you come to this college, if you find a way to win him over to the Mu family, the future of the Mu family will be limitless." Mu Nijio rarely did not retort AI Tutu, but shook her head and sighed. With his talent, I'm afraid our Mu family can't accept him at all. AI Tutu smiled and said, "Just based on your goddess style, that pervert won't be conquered by you? Such a man is not bad as a husband." Mu Nijio rarely did not retort AI Tutu. Obviously, if Tang Mao had this intention, she would be willing. Isn't this the role of a woman from an aristocratic family? Mu Nijio has always understood this. Just like her sister, even if she is only in high school, she already knows how to fight for the interests of the family. AI Tutu was slightly stunned when she saw Mu Nijio stop talking. She was just talking casually just now. But, who would have thought that Mu Nijio didn't react? "Sister Mu, you are not really willing to marry him?" Hearing this, Mu Nijio was shy and said angrily, "What are you talking about? He may not be interested in me." After a pause, Mu Nijio sighed again. "Besides, I'm not you. I can get the freedom I want. If he is really willing to join the Mu family, I will naturally marry him." When Mu Nijio spoke, there was no emotion in her eyes. She was not a fangirl, but she had the awareness that a daughter of a noble family should have. AI Tutu smacked her lips and said, "If you are willing to marry him, then I can only choose to be his mistress, alas Mu Nijio." She was actually very convinced by AI Tutu's character, who dared to say anything. However, this little witch is just like this. AI Tutu fell in love at first sight. Of course not. She actually just thought that Tang Mao was stronger and not so boring. In addition, she saw a trace of sadness in Mu Nijio, so she said so. She is the eldest daughter of the AI family, the most favored one. How could she be a mistress to others? At the same time, some people who were summoned by Aang Yuan were completely confused. Who would have thought that Aang Yuan wanted to become famous before graduation, but the result would be like this, becoming a stepping stone for others. And some children from aristocratic families immediately reported all the things here back to their families. If such a shining monster is taken away by that family, then the person who recommended it is also a great credit. Tang Mao, the person involved, naturally didn't know this. At this time, he had been taken to the office by Dean Zhao. "I think being born with soul seeds and a star track is already a great talent. But I didn't expect you to give me such a big surprise. It's really impressive," Dean Zhao said with a kind smile. At the same time, he was already thinking about how to keep Tangmao in the academy. He knew that Tangmao didn't have any background at the moment, which meant that he could be pried away at any time. If he didn't want Tangmao to leave, he would definitely find a way to keep him. But the academy is biased, that's all. While Dean Zhao was thinking, Tangmao said, "Dean, I heard that, after getting the first place, you can get 5 days to enter the 3-step tower to practice." Hearing this, Dean Zhao came back to his senses and nodded at Tangmao. "Then can I go into practice today?" Right now, the most important thing for Tangmao is naturally to practice. Not only the ice system needs to be practiced, but also the summoning system. As for the space system, you can only choose to let it go first. The ice system is his other main output, and the summoning system is naturally because of Xiao Bei. Dean Zhao didn't listen to what Tangmao said, but hesitated for a moment, looked at Tangmao and said, "Tangmao, don't you know how big a shock today's incident will bring?" Tangmao paused, then said, "What's the matter?" Dean Zhao's mouth twitched slightly, but he still said patiently, "The talent you showed today has surpassed too many people. Moreover, according to my estimation, you should be in the top 3 in the talent ranking among the young generation." Tangmao's talent is only ranked 5th, which is obviously a bit unreasonable, but he can't say exactly which one. He said again, "So, I think there will be many forces coming to find you soon. At that time, will you leave Mingzu Academy?" Although Dean Zhao knew that, if Tangmao was determined to leave, he would definitely not be able to stop him. However, he still wanted to try to keep him. After all, this is about the future direction of the academy. Tangmao was stunned, then waved his hand nonchalantly and said, "Dean, I don't take it seriously. If I really want to join any force, I will join the Inquisition directly. Why come here?" He also knew that today's exposure would attract many recruits. However, if he wanted, couldn't he just join the Inquisition directly? Why should he work so hard? Isn't it for the future? If you want to do something, you can do it. If you don't want to do it, you can turn around and leave without any restrictions. However, after what Dean Zhao said, Tangmao finally understood why Dean Zhao always looked worried. A sly smile appeared on his face, and then he said, "Dean Zhao, you have been silent for half a day. Are you afraid that I will run away?" Chapter 22 Jade is a killin. Dean Zhao's mouth twitched slightly. Although this was a fact, he was a little afraid to admit it so suddenly. There was no way. Tangmao's expression gave him the feeling of a profiteer. After hesitating for a while, Dean Zhao nodded and admitted, "Yes, I'm indeed afraid that you will be abducted by other colleges." Tangmao was instantly happy, and then said, "It's not a big deal. Give me some treasures, and let me go to the 3-step pagoda to practice for a month. I won't go there, and I will just hang out with you." Cough cough. Dean Zhao heard this, and started to cough dryly. Dean Zhao, listen, is this what a person can say? Seeing Dean Zhao's expression, Tangmao said with disdain, "I say, Dean Zhao, what's the big deal? I'm not asking you to give me a huge sum of money." Dean Zhao looked at Tangmao with a frown, and said helplessly, "Everyone has a chance to enter the 3-step tower for a maximum of 7 days each time. I can promise to give you 7 days every month for a period of 1 year. However, after your cultivation reaches a high level, the 3-step tower will be useless." Then Dean Zhao took out some magic tools and said, "As for the treasures you mentioned, I do have some magic tools here." Looking at the magic tools in front of him, and what he just promised, Tangmao was stunned. He is not the kind of person who takes advantage of others' misfortune. How could he do this? Moreover, these magic tools are of no great use to him. He has the materials accumulated from the black snake's shedding of its skin. By then, a perfect armor magic tool can be made in minutes, right? President Zhao, you make me feel so embarrassed. I don't want the magic tool. But I want to ask, do you have anything related to the totem here? Tangmao knew that there was a feather here. Although he didn't know whether the feather could give his jade some use, since it was left by the totem beast, it must not be a waste. President Zhao took the magic tool back, was stunned for a moment, and then said, "Oh, you also know about totems?" Tang Mao smiled and said, "We are a village with the surname Tang, but we are all totem guardians, so we naturally know about totems. There really is an item. It seems to be related to totems." President Zhao nodded and then said, "Come with me." Then Tang Mao followed President Zhao out of the office and went all the way to the 3-step pagoda. Tang Mao pretended to be puzzled and said, "President Zhao, what is this place?" "This is the 3-step pagoda." President Zhao responded and then took Tang Mao in, leading straight to another space. Pushing open a heavy forbidden door, Tang Mao suddenly found that this was a place with many bookshelves and antiques, like a museum, but more solemn, and even with a sense of oppression that made people breathe slower and lighter. Those exhibits had a certain momentum. Tang Mao licked his lips and said, "Dean Zhao, you are not kind. If you have such a good thing, you will give me some of the goods in your hand?" Dean Zhao's mouth twitched slightly, paused, and then said, "These are all high-level magic tools. You can't use them yet." There seems to be nothing wrong with what he said. Tang Mao shrugged and looked around. However, there was no one here today. It seemed that the people guarding here went to other places to attend some meetings. Dean Zhao took Tang Mao to the place where the totems were stored, and then a bright feather was displayed in the glass window and appeared in front of them. Although there was only one feather, it was as big as a feather fan. When the feather was opened, the clear pattern on it could be seen. At the same time, Tang Mao felt that the jade in his body was trembling, as if he wanted. Tang Mao thought to himself, "It seems to be really useful." Dean Zhao took out the feather, handed it to Tang Mao and said, "This is something related to the totem, but no one has studied it for so many years." Tang Mao seemed a little helpless and said, "It's just a feather." "Yeah." Dean Zhao nodded and then said, "This thing was left by a person, but it's useless. If you are looking for totems, I'll give it to you." After the two came out, Dean Zhao said, "You can go up and practice now. This is the 3-step tower." 3-step tower. After Dean Zhao briefly explained it, Tang Mao nodded. Immediately, he walked up, and Dean Zhao smiled with relief. In his opinion, Tang Mao made a profit, but he definitely didn't lose. And the same is true for Tang Mao. Tang Mao took out the feather while stepping onto the 3-step tower. Then a piece of jade appeared in his hand. It was the jade surrounding several magic systems. At the moment of taking out the jade, the feather instantly turned into energy and poured into it. After a while, a ray of light poured into Tang Mao's mind. Then a creature that looked like a dragon in his previous life and had full him suddenly appeared in his mind. Although he had never seen this thing, a voice appeared in his heart, "Killin." This was not made by anyone, nor was it made by this Killin. It was just because it was almost exactly the same as the picture of Killin he had seen in his previous life and the image description he had heard. While Tang Mao was in a daze, a series of welcomes appeared beside the Killin. A green dragon emerged in the east, a white tiger emerged in the west, a red bird emerged in the south, and a black tortoise emerged in the north. The 4 beasts seemed to be guarding it. After spinning a few times, I saw that the 4 beasts also had a series of illusory appearances around them. The number of totem beasts was simply beyond his imagination. And, somehow, their names also came to his mind. Yapai, Cheofeng, Zeke, Mafu, Fei, Yanghe, Kunpeng, Fei Lion, etc. That is, the prehistoric beasts of the previous life, and the totem beasts of today. And just after digesting these, another picture suddenly appeared in front of Tang Mao. That is, the totem beasts guarded humans, and humans awakened magic to destroy them. Then Killin led the totem beast clan to retreat to a distant place, wanting to return to the deep mountains and old forests. But when they arrived at Kunlun Mountain, the 4 fierce beasts of the totem beasts, Teoti, Chaos, Kyanki and Teowu, united with some totem beasts dissatisfied with humans, and launched a surprise attack. Killin died as a result. After this battle, the totem beasts went their separate ways. Some became demons and reproduced offspring, while others continued to choose to protect humans. After the 4 sacred beasts developed another batch of totem beasts, they also died one after another. Of course, they were also valuable in exchange for some corresponding protection. For example, the role of Azure Dragon is huge. When the image in the mind ended, the familiar Kunlun mountain, which is now the demon kingdom, has the other half of the Kilin jade. Then the influence dissipated instantly, and the light was directly poured into Tang Mao's body. The light seemed to be mixed with a thick energy. The moment he opened his eyes, he found that the energy of the light seemed to have directly allowed his summoning system to reach the intermediate level. PS. Fanfiction. There must be some innovation, right? Although I love to write harem novels, it is also very fun to fight monsters, isn't it? Chapter 23 Intermediate Level 2. Huh. Those are still too far away for me. After a moment of silence, Tang Mao sighed as he digested what he had just seen and heard. He looked at the time and found that only 3 minutes had passed. And that was because he was just digesting the time. Sometimes, things are just so strange. So Tang Mao was not too surprised. Moreover, the receipt of this totem relic allowed him to directly break through a system. It was so cool. The energy provided by this totem beast is simply more powerful than any spiritual creature in the world. Even if it is just a broken feather, it can get a strong energy. If you can find something else, doesn't it mean that you can jump to the next level? But in terms of current strength, it is obviously too early to think about these. Immediately, Tang Mao walked up the stairs. At first, he walked smoothly without any obstacles. But slowly, as he continued to walk up, his breathing became heavier. He forgot the disadvantages here, and muttered in his heart, I should have rested on the first floor earlier. Seeing that there was at least half the distance to go, Tang Mao had to grit his teeth and persist. Maybe he had no choice but to persevere. Fortunately, he had 4 element. Otherwise, he would not have been able to go up to the second floor at all, which would have been a complete waste of time. When he arrived at the platform, he immediately felt a strong breath of ice element. They were like a group of life elves flying around him, lingering very friendly, and even actively drilling into people's spiritual world. Feeling the energy coming, Tang Mao immediately entered into the meditation, and at the moment of cultivation, Tang Mao found that the speed given by the jade was actually increased several times. After reaching the second floor, Tang Mao began to meditate. This speed is really fast. With the Kirin in his body, the second floor tried 100 times the speed. 2 days later, he successfully broke through the intermediate level 2 of the Thunder system. Of course, the speed of cultivation is not always so fast. On the 5th day, the speed plus the Stardust magic tool was only about 40 times faster. Today, he decided to impact the 3rd level. Only with this, he can have the opportunity to reach the intermediate level 2 of the space system and the summoning system. The reason why Tang Mao did not choose a system to upgrade is because he can't do so. Because God gave him a good talent, but also left him with obstacles. That is, after the breakthrough, if you want to awaken a new system, you must upgrade the coefficient you have to a new level at the same time. Otherwise, you can't awaken yourself. Of course, if you spend money, maybe it can. However, he hasn't tried it. The most important thing is that once you spend money to awaken the first time, it means that you have to spend money afterwards, and it's 2 parts of money. Therefore, Tang Mao can only choose a few systems and practice together. The higher the level, the higher the element concentration, and the benefits will naturally double. Although Dean Zio promised him 7 days of practice opportunities every month, it only takes a year. 1 year later, although he could still get 5 days of opportunity with the help of the Thunder system, he had no chance other than that. Immediately, after Tang Mao had thought it through, he began to sprint. Halfway through, every time he went up a step, it was as if a lead ball was tied to his head, and the heaviness would increase his mental pain. Then, with every step he took, he felt as if he was being cursed by Tang Seng, and it could be described as unbearable pain. The mental gravity was still increasing, and his head was getting heavier and heavier, and it was getting more and more uncomfortable, and he was about to be completely crushed. However, despite this, Tang Mao still climbed up. The speed of cultivation on the 3rd floor was increased by 230 times. It is said that the road to cultivation is long and slow, and it is true that if you have been cultivating without any resources and assistance, and a normal person spends a lifetime to cultivate, then I'm afraid that at most you can only be a mid-level magician, and you can't improve any further. It is these natural treasures and unique resources that allow magicians to go to the next level when they already have extraordinary talents. This time, coming to the 3-step tower, only 7 days can be equivalent to several years of hard cultivation outside. 2 days later, 2 days is also quite short. Unfortunately, the school stipulated that the time is 7 days, and not even a minute more will be given. Every time the 3-step tower is opened, it will consume a huge amount of energy, and the school will firmly control it. Moreover, it is not that he will not have the opportunity to come again, so he will not be too disappointed. After walking out of the 3-step tower, Tang Mao felt refreshed. This time, his 4 systems have reached the 2nd stage. The thunder system and ice system are almost reaching the 3rd level. After leaving the 3-step tower, the first thing Tang Mao did was to go out for a meal. Fried chicken and beer. Life is wonderful. It's not that he doesn't pursue high, but his living expenses now are only a few hundred yuan, so he can't be low-key. After eating and drinking, he thinks about sex. After eating, Tang Mao happily turned on his mobile phone. Buzz 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 buzz. And at the moment of turning on the phone, Tang Mao felt that his small mobile phone was shaking to the point of exploding. It was not until 10 minutes later that the buzzing vibration sound stopped. At this time, Tang Mao found that there were already 99 plus in the message inbox. After a general glance, Tang Mao found that all of them were Tang Yu's name, so he hurriedly called. The call was connected almost immediately, and then Tang Yu's somewhat anxious voice came over. "Mao, are you okay?" "No, no." Tang Mao responded, and then said, "After the challenge ended, I entered the 3-step tower of the academy for a treat. I just came out." After Tang Mao talked about his own practice, Tang Yu was relieved. Then he accused her angrily. "How can you show all your cards?" After the worry, there was a storm of scolding. Tang Mao's mouth twitched slightly. However, he also understood that Tang Yu was worried about him, so she was like this. Wife at that moment, Tang Mao called her very ambiguously. Sure enough, after Tang Mao called her, Tang Yu's blame stopped. Then he snorted softly. "Who is your wife? Shameless." Tang Mao didn't care and said, "Yu, how is your mission going? When will you be back?" The Magic College entrance examination is getting closer and closer, which means that the time for the disaster in Bo City is coming. The only person Tang Mao is worried about now is naturally Tang Yu. Moreover, he is not sure whether his arrival will cause the demons to attack the city in advance or something. Tang Yu was silent for a while, and then said, "There is no progress in the mission. After I finish teaching this class of students, I should go back to Hangzhou." "Okay, then when you finish your work, come to the Magic City to find me." Tang Yu responded softly, "Okay, I know. I won't talk to you anymore. I have to go to class." After hanging up the phone, Tang Mao returned to the rented house. Then he began to continue controlling the stars. The premise of wanting to make money is naturally to be able to release skills first. Before, the control of the ice system had reached more than 30, and after coming out of the 3-step tower, Tang Mao found that his control speed was almost many times faster. After 2 weeks, he successfully connected 49 stars into a nebula. The next day, Tang Mao came to the release room of the academy, and then he mastered the proficiency of ice and thunder skills, as well as some control and accuracy. In this regard, he was surprisingly fast, and he completed it in just 1 day. The next day, at present, there are only 7 stars of the space system left, and he was originally planning to continue his retreat. But he received a message from Tang Yu, saying that she had discovered the Black Church personnel, and could not come back for the time being. Originally, she was supposed to come back today, but she happened to discover the Black Church personnel at this time. Tang Mao really felt a burst of MMP. After seeing this news, he left the rental house without saying a word, and rushed to Bochum. Tang Yu was a mid-level scum, and she was not dead. Bochum was about to suffer the most violent attack, and he was really afraid that something would happen to her. Tang Mao was originally going to summon the totem black snake to go with him, but he was afraid that he would not be able to make it in time, because 5 days ago was the day when Mo Fan and the Black Church lackey duel. Tang Mao had no choice but to go alone. If he was in Hangzhou, he could summon the totem black snake, no matter where he was, but outside of Hangzhou, it was not possible. Chapter 24. Tangyu is surrounded. Bo City is just a small city, and there are no luxury items like airplanes. And even if there are, it is obviously not enough with his limited funds. And along the way, no matter how Tang Mao called Tangyu, no one answered. It took him nearly a day to finally arrive in Bo City. However, he was born with a poor sense of direction, and he was a little confused for a while. He didn't know how to find Tangyu, nor did he know where to find her. Damn it. Tick. Tick. At this moment, it suddenly rained in the sky. The rain was extremely turbid, just like special urine. But at this moment, Tang Mao didn't have the heart to care about these. Because the beginning of this rain also meant the arrival of disaster. At that moment, Tang Mao was about to inquire about the magic high school, where Tangyu was, but suddenly he thought, if Tangyu was in high school, would she need to turn off her phone? Clatter clatter. Just when Tang Mao was helpless, the rain outside was getting heavier and heavier. Calm down. Be calm. Be calm. Tang Mao stood on the street, not feeling anything, even though he was being drenched in rain. Hot bastard. Tang Mao remained calm for only 3 seconds, and then he began to spit out sweet words. His beloved woman might be in danger, so how could he calm down? But he had no way to find Tangyu, because he didn't know where she was. Ding dong. Ding dong ding dong. At this moment, the bloody alarm of Bo City sounded. At the same time, demons appeared almost instantly everywhere on the street. Awoo. Awoo. The heavy rain was still pouring down, and the dark sky made the whole Bo City shrouded in a depressing atmosphere. The heart-pounding roars from not far away drilled into his ears, and he shuddered all over. 2 black one-eyed demon wolves happened to see Tang Mao, and then they rushed here. Although Tang Mao could easily kill them, what's the point of killing 1 or 2? This time, the wolf tribe came in tens of thousands. The most important thing is that he came to find someone. Tang Mao turned around and ran. Aboo. At this moment, a roar that shook the whole city of Bo suddenly sounded, shaking people's whole body. Tang Mao turned back suddenly, listened to the sound and looked, but a shocking picture came into his eyes. Exclamation mark. The gray sky enveloped the sky above the city. The iconic building of Bo City, the Silver Trade Building, stood out from the crowd, almost touching the gray sky, but at the top of this towering building, a huge black shadow lay there. Its tail drooped along the dome of the Silver Trade Building, almost half of it. Its flesh wings were half stretched out, half of it was hazy in the rain, and the other half covered more than 10 floors of office buildings. Its head was raised high, and the roar that was enough to shake the whole city of Bo came from the bloody mouth. That was enough to swallow clouds and spit out mist. This is the commander level winged Kang Wolf. After the appearance of this commander level winged Kang Wolf, demons instantly spread throughout the city. Tang Mao started the summoning, summoned Zio Bei, and then took out Tangyu's underwear as a last resort. Zio Bei, smell it, find this person for me. If you can't find it, don't even think about advancing. Zio Bei was confused. Wasn't his master too deceptive of the contract pet? It was a tiger, not a dog. But after seeing Tang Mao's serious expression, it didn't dare to complain at all. It sniffed seriously, and then began to run wildly with Tang Mao to search. Along the way, whether it was the one-eyed demon wolf, the giant-eyed fishy rat, or the bone-spurred wolf, they didn't dare to block the way. Tang Mao ignored the residents in the city, who were hunted by demons. It wasn't that he was cold-blooded, but that his power was too small. Moreover, Tangyu's life and death were uncertain now. Even though he wanted to kill her several times, he finally held back. After a while of running wildly, Zio Bei also killed some one-eyed demon wolves on the road, and some people also successfully hid in a temporarily safe place. However, the safety in this city is only a moment of safety. Along the way, Tang Mao also saw some people who asked to close the door after hiding in a temporary shelter. People are selfish. Who doesn't want to survive? Who is willing to sacrifice himself for others? Of course, there are some. But there are not many such people. Tang Mao felt that he was not among them. He can punish evil and promote good, slay demons and eliminate monsters, but everything must be based on the safety of himself and his loved ones. He doesn't like to be a hero, especially the kind of hero who leaves a name after death. At this time, in a street, Tang Yu and 3 people from the tribunal were surrounded by a blue-robed deacon of the black church with 10 black-robed people and a group of black beasts. The blue-robed deacon looked happy, looking at the remaining 4 people and staring at Tang Yu, who had a melon seed face and foxy eyes, and said, "Ha ha ha, this woman from the tribunal is really charming, but also stupid. She actually chased me here. Take them down and keep the female judge alive." The black-robed people cast magic one after another, and the black beasts also killed the 4 people together. Because Tang Yu gave all the funds she had accumulated over the years to Tang Mao, her strength now remains at the intermediate level 2. As for the other 3 judges, the same is true. It was okay for the 4 to deal with this blue-robed deacon, but who knew that the other party actually set a trap for them? Question mark? Knowing the crisis today, Tang Yu also had a trace of regret in her heart. She did not regret dealing with the Black Church, but regretted that she did not fulfill Tang Mao's wish. At this moment, she only wanted to fight until the moment when her magic was exhausted, and then commit suicide. So as not to be. Even Tang Mao did not try it. How could she allow herself to give it to others? Qian. Fierce Fist. Earth Demon. Boom. Qian is also a spirit seed, and the power it bursts out is not weak at all. With one blow, more than a dozen slaves and black beasts were killed by her in an instant. And her 3 teammates were not idle either, and they also killed several black beasts. However, in the same way, because of dealing with the black beast, one of them was ambushed and killed by the blue-robed deacon. Damn it. Qiu, who was behind Tang Yu, was also heartbroken when she saw her companions sacrificed. Frost Ice. Ice Rope. Grind Bones. Pa. After Qiu killed a few more black beast monsters, 3 black beast monsters rushed over from behind. When the teammates behind them saw this scene, they directly blocked in front of her. A set of wind magic killed the 3 black beast monsters. Moreover, he took advantage of the victory to kill several black-clothed monsters, but at the same time, the blue-clothed deacon suddenly punched him to death with a fierce punch. P.S. The contract has been signed. Brothers who have monthly tickets, please vote. Please vote for the monthly ticket and reward. Finally, reading is also very important. I hope that the brothers who like this book will give their support and look forward to a good recommendation. Finally, thank you very much. Chapter 25 Arrive and Kill Instantly. P.S. Thank you for the support of the old Diane Butler. The extra meal has been received, and I bow to you. Seeing another colleague being killed by a sneak attack, Tang Yu said angrily, "Shameless villain." The blue-clothed butler was simply using these black-clothed and black beast monsters to block skills, and then gave them a fatal bluff sneak attack. The blue-clothed butler sneered and said, "Shameless? That's nothing. You two will feel more later. But you don't have to die." After the words fell, the blue-clothed butler waved his hand, and the black beast monsters rushed straight towards Tang Yu and Qiu. Tang Yu used the shadow skill, dodged the black beast monster, and then directly punched the blue-clothed butler. The blue-clothed butler naturally knew that Tang Yu had a shadow skill. So, almost at the same time, the 2 black-clothed butlers were pulled in front of him to block and die. And he also agreed with a fierce punch, directly knocking Tang Yu to the ground. Fortunately, Tang Yu's Qian was not low in level. Although he was injured, he was not killed. Qiu also lost much magic power. Tang Yu looked at the black beasts and the blue-clothed deacon around her, and felt sad. Just when she was thinking about ending her life, Tang Mao's figure appeared in her mind. Zizao. Pali. Yaksha. Boom. Just when Tang Yu and Qiu were about to commit suicide to save their innocence, a thunder system fell from the sky and struck the blue-clothed deacon's body. As soon as the thunder ended, a white giant tiger rushed over and tore it apart. The blue-clothed deacon was suddenly killed, and a lot of black beasts disappeared in an instant. The only 2 black-clothed people left wanted to fight to the death, to take the 2 women away in exchange for one, but they were suddenly lifted up in the air. Then a thunder seal came to kill. Boom. In less than a minute, the battle was reversed. After the black-clothed and blue-clothed people died, the black beast disappeared instantly. Tang Mao also came to the side of Tang Yu and the 2 women as soon as possible. The moment Tang Yu saw Tang Mao, she couldn't believe it. Is this true? However, her body reacted the fastest and threw herself into Tang Mao's arms. Looking at Tang Yu, who was throwing herself at her like a little daughter, and seeing her torn clothes, Tang Mao said worriedly, "Yu, are you okay?" Tang Yu looked at Tang Mao with red eyes, shook her head and said, "I'm fine. I just didn't expect to see you again. What nonsense are you talking about?" Tang Mao was a little unhappy and hugged her tightly in his arms. It seemed that he was really afraid of losing her. At the same time, he was also glad that this Xiaobei was still reliable. Qiuyu on the side came back to his senses from the shock just now and looked at Tang Mao in disbelief. The power of the thunder just now was so strong. Moreover, this white tiger is already a general level existence, right? Question mark? It is hard to imagine that such a young guy has such strength. However, when seeing that the crisis has not been resolved and the two people are hugging each other, Qiuyu said helplessly, "Can you pay attention to the current situation first?" Tang Yu heard the voice and came back to her senses and hurriedly pushed Tang Mao away. Xiaobei also kept drawing tigers, and Tang Mao and Tang Yu noticed that 4 or 5 warrior level bone thorn wolves appeared here, and there were also dozens of slave level one-eyed demon wolves. Tang Yu looked at the demons in front of her and just saw hope and instantly turned into despair. With so many demons, even if they were not injured, they might not be able to deal with them, let alone now. Qiuyu was also desperate, hesitated, and then looked at Tang Mao, hesitated and said, "You take Sister Yu away, I will delay you for a while." "No Qiuyu, I will stay and fight with you." Tang Yu directly refused, and then looked at Tang Mao and said, "The two of us don't have much magic power, but you are different, you still have magic power, good." Before she finished speaking, Tang Mao blocked her delicate lips. Qiuyu felt a pang of heartache. This guy was about to die, and she was forced to be fed dog food. Tang Mao just pecked Tang Yu lightly, then looked at Xiaobei and said, "Protect them." As soon as he finished speaking, Tang Mao walked towards the magic wolves. A woo. As if provoked, a bone spur wolf roared. Then the wolves rushed forward and charged at Tang Mao at full speed. Tang Yu had come back to her senses, but before she could stop him, Xiaobei stopped him. "Get out of the way, you can't live if he dies." Tang Yu looked at Xiaobei, who was blocking her, and said angrily. Raw Xiaobei roared helplessly a few times. It naturally knew that, if Tang Mao was gone, it would be dead. But Tang Mao's order to it was to protect the two women. What could it do? Purple Sky Domain. Zilla. At the moment the domain was opened, a stream of electric current emerged nearby. Not only did his magic level increase, but his domain power also increased a lot. Purple Sky. Thunderbolt. Yaksha. At the same moment when dozens of wolves entered the domain, Tang Mao released his maximum powered intermediate level lightning magic. Although intermediate level magic cannot be released in seconds, his speed is still much faster. Boom boom. The moment the thunder fell, the servant level demons were immediately killed. And the first few of the general level demons were also killed. Purple Sky. Thunder Seal. Python Mark. The reason why the remaining one was not killed instantly was because it was brave and its IQ was higher than the others. But even with this elementary magic skill, it was no pressure to deal with it, which was now severely injured. The thunder ended, the domain dissipated, and the demon wolves that had just rushed over had now turned into residual souls and flew to Tang Mao. The phantom of the jade pendant emerged and then absorbed all the residual souls. And the last one was very nice. It turned out to be a general level spirit. Tang Mao, who was angry because Tang Yu was injured just now, finally got a comfort item. Xiaobei, who was blocking Tang Yu and the other two girls, was still hesitating whether to help. But when it saw Tang Mao kill a group of them in one move, its eyes almost popped out. The same was true for Tang Yu and Qiuyu. Qiuyu was fine. She only knew that Tang Mao was a genius. It seemed that he had even reached the top of the list of natural talents for teenagers. But even if he was the first in talent, he shouldn't be so strong, right? A mid-level magician, killing a group of people in one skill, including a general level monster. Question mark? Tang Yu, who knew Tang Mao well, was completely different. She was really surprised. Although she guessed that Tang Mao would become stronger in the future, she never expected it. With the same cultivation level, Tang Mao could kill a mid-level bone thorn wolf in 1 second, and there were several of them. You know, a general level monster can deal with several mid-level magicians alone. Xiao Bei. Tang Mao didn't have time to explain anything to the surprised two girls. This place had been invaded by wolf monsters, and they were endless. Although he could kill in seconds, his magic power was not long enough. For an attack like the one just now, he could only release it twice at most. Xiao Bei understood instantly when he heard Tang Mao's cry. He held Tang Yu and Qiaiyushu on his back and then came to Tang Mao. Tang Mao jumped and sat behind Tang Yu and hugged her, reminding Qiaiyushu, hold on tight. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Bei ran towards the safe zone in the distance. PS. Help me to recommend it. Brothers who like it should read it, don't keep it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.